Hey, let's try this crap again. Yes, it was there. Next time, not to be such a sass mouth there. Shit. Well, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Kind of sucks because the algorithm was actually moving pretty good there. Current viewer. Oh boy, oh boy. Anyway, welcome back. Let's do it again. Good Lord. Oh, I don't even think that was it. I think it was I was talking about Babylon. I explicitly said the R word and stuff, so probably had something to do with it. All right, let's go ahead and bring up the first, or not first, but next person here.
Yo, man, how's it going?
Jesus, are you there? Hey, what's up, buddy? Are you over 18?
Yeah, I'm actually 27.
Oh, cool. You're a Christian, I take it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool, man. So which one of these topics you want to talk with us about?
Oh, okay. Where it says Jesus fulfilled 0 prophecies.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Would you count Isaiah chapter 7, verses 13 and 14? Would you count that as something that's supposed to happen, like prophecy?
Yeah, that's definitely a prophecy.
Okay.
It's just not a messianic prophecy, and it's definitely not about Jesus.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Let me open it up.
Yeah, Isaiah 7 is a prophecy to King Ahaz about him being saved from the Assyrian invasion into Judah. This was 750 years before Jesus.
This is something that's going to take place.
Yeah, I mean, a prophecy is something that's going to take place, but this don't have anything to do with. It's not a prophecy about a coming Messiah. This is a prophecy about the Assyrian invasion into Judah. It's about a war.
Matthew, the gospel writer, when he says that Jesus is the one that this prophecy is talking about, and Mary gave birth to the child, like obviously a virgin gave birth to a child, yeah. So what do you make of it?
Well, in Hebrew, this doesn't even say virgin. Like, I can read you the line that Matthew quotes right now. It says, "Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Look, the young woman is with child and shall bear a son and shall name him Emmanuel." That's what it actually says in Hebrew. It says a young woman. It doesn't say a virgin. Because whoever this young woman is talking about is currently pregnant. So she can't be a virgin because she's pregnant.
Yes, the Hebrew word there, it's normally used for young woman that is a virgin.
Yeah.
Up throughout the whole Bible. That's how that
No,
word.
y'all are adding virgin on top of that. It just means a young woman.
Yeah, but like obviously it means a young woman that is a virgin.
No, it's not emphasizing a virgin here in the Hebrew. It's just saying a young woman is with child. It is not talking about a virgin. They have a word for virgin, and that word is betula, and it does not use that word here. It uses it in other places. So Isaiah does know the word for virgin. So I can only assume if he would have meant virgin, he would have said virgin.
Quickly. Ha'alma. So the word here is ha'alma.
Ha'alma ha'hara. Yeah, you're right. That means a young woman is with child. It's present tense. It's current.
Yeah.
Like it even says it in the words here. It says, look, the young woman is with child. Like this is a current thing. It doesn't say a young woman will be with child. It says a young woman is with child.
Okay. So this is used multiple times in the Old Testament, this word here, ha'alma. And it's only used for virgins. Like a young woman who is a virgin.
No, it's not. That's not true. That's not true.
Okay, can you show me an instance where it's used for someone that's not a virgin?
We're looking at one. How is a young woman that is currently pregnant a virgin?
What do you mean?
She's currently pregnant in this chapter. The way it reads in Hebrew is a young woman is currently with child. It says a young woman is with child and shall bear a son.
Yeah, but that's the sign that's going to happen. It didn't happen yet, like at that time.
It happens in chapter 8. This prophecy, there's 3 parts to this prophecy, and they all happen in chapter 8. It comes true
Okay,
in
where does this
chapter 8.
happen
The
at?
soldiers cry out, Emmanuel.
Okay, where does this happen? I'm
In
confused.
chapter 8, the very next chapter.
And then what verse?
Here, I'll go flip on over to it. There's another child that's born right at the start, and then the actual prophecy is in 9 and 10. You want me to read it?
Yeah, please.
It says, "Take notice, you peoples, and be dismayed. Listen, all you far countries, gird yourself and be dismayed. Take counsel together, but it shall be brought to naught. Speak a word, but it will not stand, for God is with us." That's what Emmanuel means, right?
Wait, what verse is this?
That's 9 and 10.
Oh, 9 and 10. Okay, sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's in,
Right,
sorry,
it
no
says,
worries.
raise the war cry, you nations, and be shattered. Listen, all you distant lands, prepare for the battle and be shattered. Prepare for battle and be shattered. Devise your strategy, but it will be thwarted. Propose your plan, but it will not stand. God is with us.
Right, that's it. Prophecy fulfilled.
So you're saying that
It's
this
talking about a
child that
battle,
was
right?
born,
You heard it saying battle, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so this is a prophecy about a battle. This don't have anything to do with a Messiah. It's not a messianic prophecy.
I've never heard this argument before, so I'd like to look more into it. But this is
Yeah,
interesting.
we can read a little more if you want. Like if you start chapter 7, it says, "In the days of King Ahaz, son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, the king of Judah." So we're talking about King Ahaz. It says, "King Rezin of Aram and King Pakal, son of Remaliah of Israel, went up to attack Jerusalem but could not conquer it." So I mean, it straight up says it. It says Ahaz is being attacked by King Rezin and King Pakal. And it said, "When the house of David heard that Aram had allied itself with Ephraim, the heart of Ahaz and the heart of his people shook as trees shake shaking the forest before the wind." So in that first little paragraph there, only 2 verses, it says King Ahaz is being attacked by King Rezin and King Pakal, and he is really, really scared. It says they're shaking like leaves on a tree, basically. So God sends Isaiah to give Ahaz the sign of Emmanuel. And this is what he says. He says, again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz. He's speaking to King Ahaz. And he says, "Ask a sign of the Lord your God. Let it be as deep as Sheol or as high as heaven." But Ahaz said, "I will not ask, and I will not put the Lord to the test." So then Isaiah said, "Hear then, O house of David, is it too little for you to weary mortals that you weary my God also? Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Look, the young woman is with child and shall bear a son and shall name him Emmanuel. He shall eat curds and honey, and by the time he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good, the 2 kings whose land before you are in dread will be deserted." That's it. That's the whole prophecy. Saying by the time the child called Emmanuel knows how to tell right from wrong, the 2 kings attacking Judah are going to fall and have their lands deserted. That's it. That's the whole prophecy. It doesn't say anything about a Messiah. It doesn't say this child called Emmanuel is going to do anything or be anybody. It is simply a timeline for the war in Judah. Contextually, this don't have anything to do with
With
Jesus
the
or
name
Messiah.
Emmanuel. Okay,
Huh?
so yeah, in Isaiah chapter 8 verse 10, does this word here, God with us, God is with
Yeah,
us,
that's
does this
Emmanuel.
correspond with the name Emmanuel?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what the name Emmanuel means. That's what this is. All of Isaiah's sons have prophetic names. That's what it's all about. It's about the name. And it's about God being with them because you want your God with you when you're being invaded and fighting a battle. That's why they're crying out, "Oh Emmanuel," and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mm. I just want to see if the name corresponds here.
Yeah,
Emmanuel.
it does. That's what they're talking about. Like if you start reading chapter 8, it says, "Then the Lord says to me, take a large tablet and write on it in common characters belonging to Maharshalal El Supreme Hasbaz." And it says, "I have attested for me my reliable witnesses, the priest Uriah and Zechariah, son of Jeberechiah. I can't. That was a hard one. And I went to the prophetess, and she conceived and bore a son. That's talking about Emmanuel, right? And then it says, the Lord said to me, name him Maher-shalal-Hazbaz, for before the child knows how to call my mother or my father, the wealth of Damascus and the spoil of Samaria will be carried away by the king of Assyria. This is talking about it's the Assyrian invasion. It should be obvious just through the context.
This is very interesting. Let me read more into it just to understand it and go watch a couple of videos on it, and then I'll get back to you. Thanks,
Yeah,
brother.
that sounds good, man. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming up, man. Have a good one. I wish every conversation went like that. That was the honest thing to do. Maybe go read it and then come back and comment when you're better informed. I salute you, sir. Good job. God is beyond human comprehension. Now tell me you his attributes. That's some sort of sentence. All right. Well, let's try the next one here. But yes, that was the correct answer. Let me go read it and come back when I know, and not pretend like I know and defend it. Good job, buddy. Good job. Thank you, Era. Appreciate you, buddy. Appreciate the shit out of that. So right here. All right. If you are a Christian or Hebrew Israelite, come on up. I didn't say they were the best words. I just said they were words. Let's try. Let's see. All right. Hey, Leon, you there?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, buddy? Are you over 18?
Yeah, I'm 40.
Cool. Are you a Christian or a Hebrew Israelite?
Christian.
Christian. Cool, man. So which one of the topics you want to talk about?
Are you an atheist or an agnostic or what?
Yeah, I'm an atheist.
Okay. And what would you say if you had to pick one or two defining moments or just words or statements, why don't you believe in a God?
Because the Bible can't be true.
Okay.
That's
And
why I
how
don't
did
believe
you
in this
come
God.
how'd you come to that conclusion?
I read it all the time. There's failed prophecies, there's major contradictions, there's theological contradictions. There's just no reason to believe any of this.
Why would you think like people like there's a professor at Oxford, mathematician-ish, John Lennox. He's about 80 years old. He's a genius. He's a mathematician and he works at Oxford. He's a Christian. Why would you say somebody that's 78 years old, has been a Christian his whole life, reading from front to back and knowing science, how could they come to the conclusion that there is a God?
Same way I probably did. Indoctrination. Desire.
All right, so you think some of it's just based on like
There's no proof
preferences?
of this, if that's what you mean. They don't believe this because there's proper evidence for it. Like it's a faith-based religion. Like it's just faith. They have faith. They don't have any
Some
facts.
of,
There's no math to back this up.
some of them say that it takes more faith to be an atheist than it does to be a Christian.
Well, then that's pretty sad. If the heathens got more faith than the faithful, then that doesn't say much for them.
Well, if I was to ask you from the Big Bang what happened prior to that, you're going to say you don't know, and you're going to use God of the gaps and all of that. And I'm going to say that I'll use God of the gaps while you use science of the gaps. So you have faith that science one day will come to a determination, or science one day will prove there, without a doubt, there'll be no God. You have faith in that. You don't have no proof. And so
I
I
have no faith in
say
that. I really
you
don't
have
care.
faith
They're never
just
going to
as much as
prove
I
that
have
something
faith.
imaginary is a real thing. That's not what science is for.
Well, then what there's cause and effect. What caused that effect? You're going
What
to say
caused
you
what
don't
effect?
know. You can't. What
Why,
caused the
why did you
Big
even
Bang?
come up here to talk to me if you're just going to tell me what I'm going to say the whole time?
What happened prior to the Big Bang?
Who knows? Who cares?
Right. Well, I do.
Well,
I mean, if you're
great.
all about reason and logic and everything, what happened?
I have no idea. Nobody does. So pretending you do know is not going to make you look any better.
I can be wrong,
Sure.
right? But I'm asking you, so you're saying you don't know?
I'm saying I don't know. According to physics, there was never nothing. There was something before the Big Bang that was just some other form of the universe that we don't know about.
Like what? If space, time, and matter didn't exist, then what existed prior to
It
that?
did exist.
So it always
Just
existed.
energy. Yeah. Quantum fields.
Okay. Well, if you have energy, you have to have time. You can't have one without the other.
Exactly. I think time's eternal too. Because
So
God
you
can't
think
even
that,
complete an action without time. You can't act outside of time. You need time to complete the action that you are making. So you can't,
yeah,
it's
if you're
silly
within
to
it,
say there was
but
never
God's
time.
not within time.
That it doesn't make any sense to be with outside of time. That makes no sense at
What?
all.
It makes no sense to think that you're living on an infinite amount of days, because how would today ever be here if there were an infinite amount of days prior to today?
It only makes sense to me that there was an infinite amount of days. I mean, there was
Well, then
yesterday,
how are we
there was the day
stopped on
before
infinite?
that. You can keep going back as far as you want. Like, I
Well,
mean,
then
why
I'll give
stop?
you
Like, why not
everything.
just keep going?
I'll give you everything I have to my name if you flick that light switch in your bedroom an infinite amount of times. But you'll never get to that point because you can't
Zach,
stop on an
thank you,
infinite.
buddy. Zach gave me a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing too, man. I appreciate that. What
You
up,
can't
dog? Thank
stop
you.
on an infinite. So
Yeah,
I
I
don't
never
know
said I
your
could flick a
logic.
light switch an infinite amount of times. Like, you think God's infinite, so what's the problem? Like, you literally believe in infinites.
Well, what are you talking about? I believe in God, but because it's more logically
Yeah, you
sound to
think God
believe.
is infinite, right? You think God is infinite
I
and eternal, right?
I think whatever created space, time, and matter can't be made of it. So yes, he's not bound by space, time, and matter. But whatever you
See, there
believe
you
in
go.
has to all you have to always come back
So
to
it's
something
unreasonable for
natural.
me to believe in an eternal universe, but it's not unreasonable for you to believe in an eternal God who created the universe.
Yeah, see, that's where your logic is flawed.
No, that's where your logic is flawed.
No, that's where your logic is flawed because you keep
Yeah.
resorting back to something natural. If you keep resorting
Yeah,
back to
because a
something
law of
natural,
physics says that you cannot create or destroy energy. If you can't create it or destroy it, that means it was always there. That's the only
what
logical inference there is.
then how do you stop on an infinite? If you can't flick that light switch an infinite amount of
There's
times,
not a
how are we
problem with
stopping?
infinites in physics. Like, you
So you
believe in an infinite. Like,
you
nobody has a problem with the infinite, including you. You're just placing where the infinite should be based on faith.
you don't understand infinite, I guess. I mean I don't know what else to
Do
say.
you understand infinite? God is
Right.
infinite, right?
You
That's what I'm saying.
God
We
was
both believe in an
no,
infinite. We're just disagreeing on where it's placed.
no. God
Oh.
is not
So you don't
made
believe
of
God's infinite.
okay, so let me ask you this. Maybe this would help you. If wood did not exist and then suddenly it appeared, whatever made it, can it be made of it?
Are you saying did wood make wood?
What I'm asking is the simple statement here. If wood did not exist and then suddenly it did, whatever created it, can it be made of it?
Okay. Well, oh, I got you. So I'll engage in your magical hypothetical. So yeah, in a
It's
magical
not
world, if
logical.
wood magically popped up into existence, I would probably assume that it didn't make itself. Yes, you're correct.
Right, because right, that would be not logically sound. So space, time, and matter, if
Would
it
it
had a
not? Yeah, no,
beginning, if it
because
space,
wood
time, and
don't
matter
disappear,
had a
does it?
beginning at the Big Bang, then whatever made it can't be made of it. That's why we call that thing God. I'm not saying it's Jesus, but that's what we call that thing God. Because if space, time, and matter had a beginning, then it made of space, time, and matter?
Okay, fine. Let's say I grant you all of that and say you're right. There had to have been a God who started time. How do you prove that it was this God?
Correct. Now that's a whole different thing
That was a
to
question.
say.
It was,
Right. So now we're saying, why do I think out of all the possibilities of that outcome is a Jesus?
Yeah.
right? I would say based on your reason and logic, have you read the Quran and the Bible and you've done all that too?
I've read the Quran. It's been a long time. That was a really long, boring book.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute for me too. But I would just say,
I listened to it on an audio book a long time ago, but a
Yeah,
very,
most-
very long one.
yeah, well, a lot of mine, Bible was audio as well due to certain reasons, but that's fine. I would just say
Um,
for me, I went
I hear
to
you.
more towards Christianity was um, based on what I was seeing with consistencies. And when you look at a tribe, there's always one chief. There's not three or four. So I automatically will reason that we don't have three presidents for a reason, right? We always only have one leader typically in a nation. So I don't believe in Buddhism or anything of that nature because then you would have gods that would be conflicting with each other. So I have to believe in one. So now we're down to the Quran, we're down to Bible, we're down to a few. And
What
then I
man?
look
Why not like Marduk?
at who? Never heard of
Marduk.
it.
Yeah. Well, how do you know that's not the real God?
I would have to look at the evidence.
Hmm. So you haven't went through all the evidence before you decided this was the real God.
There's probably 2,000 religions out there. So no, I haven't went through all 2,000.
Yeah.
But I would
Anyway.
I would assume based on what I asked you earlier, I think that you have more faith to be an atheist than I do as a Christian.
Well, that doesn't say much for you because that's not a bad thing, right?
No, I mean it's
Faith is
you know.
good. Faith's great, isn't it? Whoever has the
Yeah,
most
I mean,
faith is the most likely to get into heaven, right?
let me ask you this: Do you have faith in anything?
No.
Do you have a wife?
Yeah.
Do you have faith that she won't cheat on you?
No.
Because I'll tell you this, all the evidence in the world won't prove that she won't cheat on you. You could say she does this, she does that, science, 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 but you always will have to put faith in her that she won't cheat on you.
No. I put
Science
trust.
isn't,
It's not the
science
same
isn't,
thing.
yes, trust and science is not, or
No,
trust and faith
no,
is
no,
not
no. You're just
scientific.
trying to turn faith into trust. They're not the same thing. Faith is
It's not.
trust with added stuff into it. You can't just say faith is the same thing as trust. It's not the same.
But all the evidence that you have of your wife, will that make her a good one?
Yeah.
Then I don't know why we have divorces because everybody that's got married, I'm sure a majority of them thought that this woman or male would be a great husband or a great wife
How
based
come
on the
Christians
evidence
get
they
divorced
saw.
when Jesus says that's bad?
You see what I'm saying? You can't answer the questions.
I can.
You want to steer this conversation into
Do you know what faith is?
Yeah, faith is.
I'm saying you're
Well,
making
in
invalid
Christianity, too.
comparisons this whole time you've been doing that.
No, I'm not. I'm using logic and
So
reason.
what? So what is faith? So what is faith?
Faith? I think faith is just defined as something that you believe in something of which you don't have or have little evidence for, right?
Oh,
Physical.
well, I have a whole lot of evidence that my wife will be faithful to me based on
I do
over a
too.
decade of loyal experience.
Yeah.
That's not the same as just assuming she's not
But
going to cheat on me without any evidence at all, without knowing her. You know what I mean? It's not the
so
same.
then what if she does? Is all your science wrong?
Science don't have nothing to do with your wife cheating on you or not.
So
That's
what
what I'm
would it?
saying. You
What,
keep making these weird comparisons, but they're
it's
not
not.
logical because they're not
I don't
analogous.
know. You're not logical. You think
Okay,
one thing.
so you're saying you believe in God based on evidence? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, there is evidence that. I mean, can you point to something that has an effect that didn't have a cause?
Yeah, the universe.
Right. The universe. So again, you believe that time is infinite. Do you
Yeah.
think all truth comes from science?
No.
Well, thank gosh you didn't say yes, because I would have got you
Let,
on
let
that
me
one.
ask you something. Do you think something came from nothing?
Do I think something came from nothing?
Yeah,
No.
is that possible?
I think
Okay.
not.
So
I think there's
logically,
none.
there
I
was
think
never
there's
nothing
none.
there in regards to the universe to begin with, was there?
As far as material things go, no.
Okay. So if you can't make something out of nothing, what materials did God use to make the universe? Because he can't just make it out of nothing.
Like I told you about the wood example, whatever made material wouldn't be made of it. Matter, he's not made of matter.
Okay,
He's not
so
made of space. It's time.
I'm
He
asking what
created it.
materials he used to make it out of.
Well, I don't think you understand God then if you're asking that question.
So you don't have
You
an
need to be-
answer? Or?
Because we would say we believe in miracles. Let me ask you this: do you think Jesus rose from the dead?
God went poof or said command, and the universe
Right.
came from nothing because he commanded it to come from nothing. Is that your
Right.
argument now?
And now,
So you
well,
do
it
believe in
sounds
something from nothing?
a little bit crazy, doesn't it? Do you think that Jesus rose
Well, it
from the
sounds
dead?
crazy after you say that it's impossible for something to come from nothing, and then immediately proceed to say that something did in fact come from nothing. So
What are you talking about?
you're
God is
validating your
something.
own point.
So God's
So what
nothing.
did he make the
So I
universe out
believe in a
of?
nothing God. I believe in a nothing God.
Yes, you do. But what did he make the universe out of?
Space, time, and matter.
So space, time, and matter was already there for him to make it, wasn't it?
No, it was not. And I don't think the Big Bang Theory says that at
So
all
where
either.
did it come from? So
Doesn't it
nothing
say
in the Big Bang says
Theory?
it was the start of the universe.
Right, it was the start of the universe. So my
No,
logic
it
is it
wasn't.
was
There's
God.
nothing. That's what I just said. Nothing in the Big Bang Theory says it was the start of the universe.
So what started the Big Bang?
Nobody knows that. It's not in science. The Big Bang is just a point in time.
Okay. So what do you believe?
In regards to the Big Bang,
I would hope you would believe in something, and I'm just curious if I think it's God
well, I
at the
mean,
start of that.
there's
what
no
do you
proof for
think?
this stuff. Nobody knows. There is only mathematically sound kind of ideals or hypothesis about what happened, and there's several of them. You can go with like string theory. I prefer the Big Bang Big Crunch, like an infinite amount of retractions and expansions. That seems to be the most logical to me, personally.
Right. But where did all that
But I
energy
don't
come
think
from?
that a magical deity just said, "Hey, universe," and then poof, a universe came out of nothing from nowhere,
Right.
except a
You just
word. Like that don't
right.
make any sense at all.
Right. Okay. And you don't think Jesus rose from the dead?
No.
You don't
I don't
think
even
people
think
can
Jesus
do
was a
that?
prophet.
You don't think that can happen?
No.
So you don't think non-life can arise to life? Because what I'm doing
yeah.
now, oh,
We're
now you
made out
do
of
believe. Oh,
non-life.
now he does believe it. Because now he knows that I'm going to talk about the one-cell amoebas or life arising from non-life, and Jesus can't do that. But
No, I'm
believe
telling
me,
you,
a
I do think
one-cell
life can
amoeba
arise
can
from
do it.
non-life. Yeah.
Yeah. So can
Yeah.
you show me in a laboratory?
No, I don't have a laboratory.
Okay, well, can you show me an article where we have ever created life out of non-life?
Can you show me in a laboratory how a god made a universe?
Well, how could I?
Well,
How can you
could I
do
show
that with a
you something that
spiritual
happened
being
2
that's
billion
not
years
made
ago?
of space, time, or matter? So, I mean, you have a lot of faith. I
You're
think it takes
demanding stuff from me that you can't produce yourself for your own position.
Well, then we both have a lot of faith. Can we at least admit that?
Yeah.
Okay, well then,
Except I don't
Dan,
have faith. I'm using actual evidence.
yeah, well, me
You're
too.
saying
And
faith
so
is
is that,
belief without evidence.
and
So
so is that
literally your belief is
mathematician,
based on without evidence. You don't have any.
right? And so is the mathematician. A lot of scientists are Christians, and and so on. And so I guess we
A
all
lot of
have faith.
scientists aren't Christians. That doesn't mean anything.
Okay, well, why are they scientists then if it goes against their beliefs?
For science, to learn science isn't about finding Jesus. Science is about discovering natural phenomenon and how
Well,
the
you're the one
universe
talking
works.
about science, and you're trying to use science to disprove God.
No, I talk about these topics right here. This is what I do every day. I read the Bible and talk about these topics right here. I only talked about science because you come up here and started talking about the Big Bang and stuff.
Are you a middle
Which is
school
fine.
dropout? What happened?
I dropped out of middle school
Why?
because I didn't want to go to school anymore.
Well, it sounds good. You don't like to listen.
No, it's because I didn't like going to school.
Well, if we're sitting down and I was a boss right now listening to you, I would say this man doesn't like to listen to shit. And so that's probably why he dropped out of middle school.
Yeah, well, you can say whatever you want. Doesn't mean you're right. I know why I dropped out of school. I'm doing
Oh, I know,
exactly
you
what
know.
I want to be doing in life.
Right, but with my reason and logic
I don't have
right
a
now,
boss.
I
I
would
don't have
say
a boss. I make $85 an hour, and I'm doing pretty good with even though I really don't care if you think I'm a middle school dropout for whatever reason. I'm doing all right.
yeah, no, but would it be unrational for me to make that statement? Could it be true that you weren't a good listener
Yeah, it could be.
and you didn't?
But you're just
and you didn't.
saying that. It's not. It doesn't mean anything. I can say all kind of shit about you. It doesn't make it true,
Well,
does it?
based off this conversation, you're all over the place, in my opinion, just like you think I am.
Well, I might not be listening to you because you're not making sense. You're saying nothing.
listening.
You're saying something can't come from nothing, and then you're immediately turning around and saying something can come from nothing.
God's
So
not
why would I
nothing,
listen
so-
to you? You don't even understand your own position.
God's not nothing, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
I know, but you're saying he made the universe from nothing.
There was no universe, and then he made it. Just like
Out of
you,
what?
and
Out of
you,
what?
you
What did he
believe
make it
everything.
out of?
And what
What
did the
did he make the
universe
universe
make
out of?
itself out of?
It was already there. The matter and energy. It just changes forms
The
over and
matter
over
and
again. Like
energy.
that
And-
is
and-
physics. Literally, that's a law of physics.
So you mean to tell me before you existed in Earth and everything, it was just always there, nothing created. It was just always space, time, and matter. It was just there.
Yes,
Come on,
the
bro.
same way you
Believe
think
me,
God
dude.
existed in that, the same
Come on,
absurdity. Listen, the same absurdity that you think about the universe,
Sure.
you think God did. Like you
Right.
literally think God's an absurd idea, but you accept your own absurd idea because God.
I could be
That's not
wrong.
logical.
Could you be wrong?
I could be, but I'm not being illogical. You're literally making an illogical position.
I'm not making illogical claims.
You
You
are.
have faith that you can't prove that non-life arises from life. You can't prove that in a
Yeah, but faith
laboratory.
faith is great, remember?
Faith is good.
Yeah, so you're saying I'm better than you because I have more faith. My position is better. I have more faith in my position than you do. in
I
yours.
do. I
You
do
admitted it.
think faith is good to an extent. I mean, I think if you believe in your wife,
Oh, so what
And
extent
she's-
does it start being a bad thing? What's the
well, I
line?
think if your wife cheats on you and you have faith that she won't do it again, you're an idiot. So I'm
Probably.
not saying more faith is good, but I'm saying I think it takes more faith to be an atheist than does a Christian.
Oh, well, our position is better then, based on faith.
So I'm glad you think that you could be wrong. I mean, that's
I could
good.
be, but I don't
I
think I'm
could be
wrong
wrong
based
too.
on anything you've said.
Yeah, well, vice versa. No, definitely.
I mean, I hear you. That's what I say it all the time, dude. We're even. You probably think I'm crazy. I think you're crazy. We're even,
Yeah,
man. Like, shake
Yeah,
hands.
no, I'm not saying I'm any better than you. I'm saying I could be wrong, and I appreciate the
Yeah, same.
convo. I'm gonna eat my breakfast, but it was a good little. I needed a little argument, so appreciate it.
Yeah, I hear you, dog. No problem, buddy. I needed one too. That's
See
what
you,
we do
man.
this show for.
See ya.
Have a good one, man.
Yeah, bye.
Well, that was interesting. I won't talk about science and big bangs too much. So that was kind of fun. Little shift, you know what I'm saying? You ever heard a middle school dropout argue about big bangs? How silly. How silly. All right, let's bring up Dylan if he's still here. Oh, no. arguing with a middle school dropout about science. But yeah, people use that negatively all the time. But I assure everyone, I do not give a shit that I'm a middle school dropout. There is no shame in my game. I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. I'm doing exactly what I would be doing regardless. I filled my teenage years with good times instead of learning calculus because I do not use calculus. Or, that kind of shit. But whatever. Well, I mean, brainwashed as far as religion takes you. I mean, it happens. But I mean, I was duped the same way. So it wasn't even that bad, I don't think. But yeah. Yep. No shame in my game. All right. If you are a Christian or a Hebrew Israelite, come on up and talk with us. The old algo is moving a little bit. And that's pretty cool. Because we got straight up restricted. No time limit or nothing on the last live. So we're saying the same old shit I always say. That's what's really weird about getting TikTok knocked out is like, I've literally said all this shit 50 million times. Like, why is it just now singling me out? Phil bros are philosophy bros. They try to argue from philosophy. If you were asking me that, I guess. I'm not really sure. Anyway, Christians or Hebrew Israelites, come on up. It is your time. No more. No wait at the moment. We talked to the last guy for quite a little bit there. Nearly half an hour. Or actually, 31 minutes. So a little over a half hour. That's cool. That's cool. Alright, so I want to describe to any dating models. No, wait, I was going to make a joke about that and I forgot what it was. Never mind. Sorry. Forgot my wit jumped out of my head there. Just trying to read stuff and think of a joke at the same time. There's Dr. Joshua. There's our man. What up? What up? What's up, everybody, as a matter of fact? Let's see. Who's up in here? We got missionary discussions. Hey, request on up if you like talking, buddy. That's cool. God's favorite, you too. We got Dr. Josh. We got Emmer. What's up, dog? Empty Venue, J-Cal, Polly, Walter, the Dragon Stratagem. That sounds awesome. We got Saucy, Thor Cabinus. Damn, those are hard names to say sometimes. Good Lord, there's a bunch of you. I'm trying to make myself look more silly by trying to pronounce names over here. It's actually pretty cool just reading people's names sometimes. Saucy. That's pretty cool. Alright, so Christians, Hebrew Israelites, come on up. We even have a little sneaky bonus topic here. Christians are damned, even with Jesus. I got something to say about that one. Maybe that would come up. That'll be neat. Oh, shit. Anyway, Christians or Hebrew Israelites, come on up. Come on up. Let's get these super intellectual and enticing conversations going here today. So why did you drop out of middle school? That's funny. I like it. You just have to know me in my head, I guess. I guess I don't read things the same way other people. I don't know. Anyway, come on up, Christians or Hebrew Israelites. I still got a solid hour and a half or so I can be on, so we're gonna keep it rolling, man. Gonna keep it rolling. So let's do that. Hey, Blaster.
What's up, man?
Yeah, what's going on, buddy? Are you over 18?
Yeah, I'm 31.
Cool, man. Are you a Christian or a Hebrew Israelite?
Yeah, born again Christian.
Cool, man. So, which one of the topics you want to talk with us about?
Well, like, it's not even the topics. The thing is, it's like, how do I even propose this? Like, okay, so yeah, I was listening to the last conversation. You were saying that you're an atheist, and I get that, everything. But here's the thing. Even if you don't believe in God per se, why is Jesus the mantle of your conversation, or at least in the background picture? I just want to
Oh, it
understand
just
from like
makes
where
for
you're
a
coming
good
from
picture.
in that. Sorry?
Yeah, just makes for a cool picture. It's all about Jesus. I mean, that's what Christianity is. It's Christ-like.
Yeah,
It's about Christ.
but that's what I'm asking. So like if you don't believe in God, why go after Jesus? Right? There's a million different gods,
Oh,
right?
I go after Christian nationalism specifically.
And what's Christian nationalism?
Christian nationalist? You don't know what a Christian nationalist is?
No, I'm in Canada.
Oh, well, check out their website. Basically, Donald Trump is a Christian nationalist.
Okay. That's terrible. Okay, so
Oh,
you just helped me paint a picture of what a Christian nationalist was one person. I gotta go repent. I shouldn't judge
no,
somebody that
he's an
has
example of that.
yeah, no, it's a beautiful example because to me, I've heard Trump many times say, "Oh yeah, Jesus Christ," and then does the complete opposite.
Yeah, like
Um,
bombs people and shit, right?
like who? Sorry.
Like bombs people and shit.
Yeah, well, and this
Tries
is
to
why
conquer other
I'm just trying
countries.
to I'm trying to understand like why are these nationalists claiming of Christ when they don't do the same walks? Because if they did the same walks, wouldn't
That's what most
America be?
Christians do, isn't it?
I think like predominantly what you're talking about, and I see what you're saying, is mainly like the face front of like Christianity or Catholicism. Yeah, I would say it's more of the Catholics than anything. Being raised, like born and raised Catholic, and then became a born again Christian. I would say a lot of it is actually the Catholics, right? Because if you look at like
Possibly.
the Crusades, they always say it was the Christian Crusades, but where did Christ ever start a crusade? You know what I mean? Like, uh, it's like
Well, I
we've been
mean,
playing around with history.
I think Jesus said some good things, but Jesus had some pretty bad morals himself, in my opinion.
Well,
But if you think Jesus is
I
God
think that's
like
beautiful to
Catholics
share
do,
your
then God is
opinion.
perfectly fine with warfare and conquering people and taking more captives and slaves and stuff.
Well, like
God
yeah,
has no problem with any of this
when you
stuff.
look at the Old Testament, yeah, you see a lot of that and like a lot of misconstruing of understandings, meaning like we these were barbaric people, and you could just
Yeah,
read through the
God's
text.
chosen people, right?
Well, God's chosen people, but it was pretty much anyone and everyone that had ears or heart to listen or learn and ask questions, right? Um, but here's the problem: like when you look at the like three major religions in the world, like your Catholicism, your Judaism, and your Islam, and I would say Catholics is bigger than Christianity because people are just putting numbers to Christianity, but how many people actually walk like Christ? I guarantee you no political leader around the world is doing it right now. And if they are, they're
So do
being
you walk
hammered
like
down.
Christ?
Sorry?
Do you walk like Christ?
I do my best. It's not easy. I
As
do my
far as I can
best.
tell, there's nobody that walks like Christ.
Absolutely, bro. You don't feel frustrated by that? Like all these people preaching love and then just using love as a toy? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like it's absolutely disgusting because, part of the way I'm saying this, but like it's disgusting because when you look at children, right, those are the futures, right? And our job and responsibility
Yeah.
is to help guide that pathway. But if we're not doing it with love, then we're screwed, right? It's like an example, like God asks us to discipline our children because if we don't discipline our children, one day somebody else is going to discipline them that could cause bigger outcomes or bigger causes and reactions. And I as a new father, I have a 13-month-old. I'm learning this, but also struggling to do this because I came up in a household where it was just like very strict in that sense. And so like, but I understand the meaning behind why God said it, right? Like I think the Bible is supposed to be intended, or any book is supposed to be intended to like a child can pick up that book and read it and understand. And when you look at the books today that talk about quote unquote God, none of them really do that. Like if you go to the Quran points a lot of fingers to this group of people, those groups of people. When you go to the Bible, you need a lot more patience to like actually go through it. In terms, like I haven't even finished it at 31 years old, but I'm slowly
You
getting
mean the
back
Bible?
into it. Yeah, but
Oh,
like,
I read it all the time. You want me to read some stuff to you about Jesus?
hey brother, if you feel called, by all means, man.
Oh, cool. So, are you aware that Jesus chastises the Pharisees for not putting their disobedient children to unalignment?
Yeah, you can read it to me. I know somebody was saying it, Matthew 23, but I was like, what?
It's in Mark 7 and Matthew 15.
Yeah. I was looking for that early. If you wouldn't mind reading that, please.
Yeah, they come to Jesus and they say, "Why are you not washing your hands as the tradition calls for, or whatever?" And it says, Jesus answered them. He says, "And why do you break the commandment of God for the sake of your tradition? For God said, 'Honor your father and your mother, and whoever speaks evil of father and mother must surely die.'" Like, he's just coming back with a question for them. They're saying, "Why aren't you washing your hands like the tradition says?" And he's saying, "Why don't you keep the law of Moses like God says?" That's
Yeah,
his
yeah.
rebuttal right there. And he
hmm
brings up not putting your disobedient children to unalignment.
Well, and then again, like in that verse, like when he's saying to not raise your children, um, like he's talking about. So if he's saying woe to the Pharisees, right, and basically the Pharisees
Yeah.
are trying to set him up, right, and he's aware of that, he's rebuttaling in the conversation of like, yo, you guys want to come out what I'm not doing 100% correct? No worries. Let me take a look at what you guys have been doing, right? And so like,
That's exactly
and
what he does.
and in that position where the Pharisees like misusing the teachings of God, right? And what it's going to cause, which is like the children becoming disobedient towards the mother and father, right? But they're still
Right.
continuing to let that child live in sin due to their ignorance. And this is why
Yeah,
Christ is
they're supposed
calling
to
it
kill
out.
him.
Like, yeah, well, but Christ is
Yeah.
not directly saying, yo, you're supposed to stone them. He's just saying, if you want to hold me
That's
accountable to the
exactly
law,
what he's saying. You want me to read it
no,
again?
he's saying if he's saying if you want to hold me accountable to the law, then why are you yourself not keeping the same commandments that you have set in place? So he's just
Yeah,
he's
exactly. And he's
mostly
bringing
Jesus
up children speaking evil of mother and father. He's saying, you're supposed to be putting them to death.
because of what they have written in their law, the Pharisees, the Jews at that time.
No,
They're
that's the
just
commandment of God. He's saying, and why do you break the commandment of God for the sake of your tradition? They're saying, why do you break tradition? And he's saying, why do you break the commands of God for tradition? And then explicitly brings up putting children to unalignment if they speak evil of father and mother. So he's saying, you're not doing this, and you're supposed to be doing this.
yes, according to their law, which they're trying to accuse him
No,
of.
that's not their law. That's God's law. He's saying you
No, it's
are
not. No, no,
setting
no, no, no,
aside
no, no,
God's
no.
commands.
It's not God's law because listen, the
Yes,
Torah
it
has
is. It's
600.
in Exodus 21 and Deuteronomy 21. It's
Okay,
verse
but
17 of Exodus 21. It
so
says,
from what I
whoever curses
understand,
father and mother shall be put to unalignment. Deuteronomy
so
21, it says, if you have a disobedient or unruly child, you stone him to death.
okay,
That's
and
the law. And it's not an
according
option.
for whose people though? It's not God's people. At
It's
the
the
time,
Israelites.
it's the Israelites. But what is the Israelites in reference to? Like the term Israelites.
The 12 tribes of Israel.
Okay, and where did the name Israelite come from? Which tribe?
Jacob.
The one who wrestles with God, correct?
Yeah.
So, in this occurrence where the Pharisees are trying to set up an innocent person for calling him out, he's calling these Pharisees out for taking
Right.
God's law, God's perfect law, and using
Exactly.
it for
God's
their own
perfect law. Yeah.
gain. So they're using it for their
No,
own
no,
gain.
they didn't do it. He's saying they're setting aside God's law. Oh, he's saying they're keeping tradition over the law.
Yes, so for their own
Exactly.
gain, okay? So if Christ is calling these people out for their own gain, Why would he bring up the children? Let's just break it down there. Why would he bring up the children? As
Be-
being a loving
because
person.
they're supposed to be putting them to unalignment. It says it in verse 4
Yeah,
of
no,
Matthew
I hear
15.
you.
It says, listen, hold on. It says, for God said, honor your mother and your father, and whoever speaks evil of father and mother must surely die. That's God saying that, right?
hmm
Yeah, that's God's order. That's God's command
hmm
that if a child
Because
speaks evil of father and mother, they have to die.
but
That's
why
God's
would God say
command.
that? Listen, why would God say that about your mom and dad? Why? What's his emphasis?
Because God's actually evil. He's not the God you think he is.
God's actually evil. So it's not.
Yeah.
It's not
Do you think
because
it's
he wants.
evil? Would you put your child to death if they spoke evil of you?
After bringing them up and raising them the best way that I possibly could, absolutely, I would leave. Boom, death, down. You never seen your father ever again. Boom, bye.
You would
Simple.
unalive your own child.
Listen. That's the closest to unaliving that you can do for a child is absolutely dissipate your life from them. After, listen, if
No,
you
I'm talking
were,
about them. I'm asking if you would unalive them as per the law of God.
and I'm telling you, this is how I would unalive my child. This is how I would do it. If my child, if after 30 years I did everything in my possible will and power to do everything for that child, and there's nothing else I could add to the table to this child, I would just leave the child's life. And when the child's ready, that's when the child can come
That's
and
not what
ask
I'm
for
asking you,
mercy.
though. I'm not asking if you
But that's
would
a,
not be in their
hold on.
life. I'm talking about
Okay,
putting them
but
to
hold on.
unalignment. It says you have to
See,
die.
see, but okay, let's define dead. Like, are you talking about
Dead,
physically dead?
death. You
Because
put
God
them to
didn't
death. You
command.
stone
God
them to
didn't
death. You
command it.
throw rocks at them until they die, until they stop breathing.
Okay.
That's the you know this is the law, right? Do you not know this is God's laws?
Okay. But again, you're bringing it out of context to make it fit your
No, I'm
ideology.
not. You are. You're trying to make it about leaving their life. That's not what this is about. This is literally saying, for God
No.
said, whoever
Listen,
speaks evil of father and
listen.
mother
What
must
I'm
surely
saying is,
die. That does not mean
you
you
asked me the
exit their life.
question. Listen, you asked me the question, would I unalive my own children? Right?
Yeah, and you gave me a metaphorical
No, I
answer
didn't
to
give you a
that.
metaphorical. I gave you the plan. I gave you the idea. I gave you the truth, and you still didn't want to accept
That's
it. But
not the
I'm
truth.
telling you,
I asked you
yes.
if you would
Okay, let
put
me
them
ask
to
you this. Let me
unalivement.
ask you
Would
this.
you
If you were
unalive
born
your
with a
own
mom and
child, is
dad,
what I
now
asked you.
hold
I
on.
didn't ask you if you would leave their life.
But that's unaliving. What I'm saying is this. So
No,
if
it's
you were
not.
born with, yes, it is. If you were born with a mom
Oh
and
my
a dad,
God.
and they just,
So you can't even address what
brother,
killing somebody is?
listen, that's what I'm doing. I'm literally painting the
You're
example so you
not doing it.
understand.
You're dodging it.
Okay, so let me ask you quickly then. If you came from a mother and father, which I'm hoping you did at some point of your life, if they just up and left your life at 5 years old, did they die to you? Did you kill that child? Did they kill you?
No, that's
No.
ridiculous.
So then who's supposed to mentally, emotionally, physically,
Why are you trying
spiritually?
to change the definition of
Because
death?
no, brother, I'm asking you to think bigger. That's all. I'm asking you to
I'm not.
step
You're
up.
asking me to think completely outside of the definition of a word.
No, because
You're
the
completely
definition. Okay. So
redefining
if that's
what
the case,
unaliving somebody means.
okay.
Like,
If
what
that's
are
the
you
case,
talking about?
let's use your logic and let's go to John chapter 3 when Jesus is talking to Nicodemus. Let's go. Let's use your logic.
What does that have to do with this?
Everything for you to understand it if you choose to. And I'm not saying that you don't understand it, but if you want to
Well, hold
expand.
on. Well, before we do that, whoever speaks evil of father and mother must surely die. You think that means exit life, exit their life?
Yes,
That's what you're
yes.
saying that
Abandon the
means.
child. Abandon them completely. That.
So why doesn't it say
Why
that if
would
you
God,
speak
if God's
ill of
all
father and
loving,
mother, you have to abandon the child?
sorry? Say the last part, sorry.
Then why doesn't it say abandon? Why does it say die and not abandon?
Because we're reading from a book that was played from telephone from thousands of years ago. So obviously the words are
Then
gonna
why
be
believe any
at
of
face
this?
value. Sorry?
Then why believe any of it?
Because
You're
it's
just
your
making
job
up. You're just making up your
No.
own concepts of what's happening here.
No. If all you've known ever about God is that God is this all-loving, omnipresent being, then you have to read his books from those perspectives. You can't read those books from an angry, upsetted, hurt perspective because you're not going to get the full clarity of it. That's why I'm asking you to go to John chapter 3. John chapter 3, Jesus explains to Nicodemus how to be born again, but he doesn't mean.
Well, let
And
me ask you
Nicodemus is
this:
like,
when
what
it
do you
says
mean?
to
I'm an
set
old man.
someone on fire until they pass away, does that mean abandon them?
To set somebody on fire until they pass away, I would say that
Yeah,
means, light up somebody's spirit so much that their old version of who they are has to leave.
you have got to be
That's
kidding
how.
me.
It's like how Jesus commanded that man with 6,000 demons to
Well,
leave.
it's no wonder you're a Christian because you're completely just changing everything about this book.
No, but again, there's nothing to
Well, I mean, I
change.
hear you. I don't even have a beef with you. If that's what you think all this means, then I have no issue with you at all. You're fine with me.
Listen, I'm reading from the perspective that if God is all loving and all omnipresent, it's my obligation to be fair. And when reading his book, or all the books, or a few of the books, whether that be the Catholic Bible, whether that be King James, whether that just be the New Testament, the Quran, whatever, the Bhagavad Gita, I have to read it from their lens. I can't just come from my perspective as like my 31 years of
You're
experience.
totally, you're not coming from the book's perspective. I can tell you that right now. When it says
Can
to
I
set somebody on
No,
fire till they pass
but
away, it's
I
not
definitely
talking about
am.
burning their spirit.
I definitely am, and you
can
are as
I
well, but from your own
can I can
perspective.
I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
can I
please.
ask for some clarity? Uh, so I'm just going to read a couple of things here, and I'd just be interested in your take. So this is Exodus 21:12.
Wait, who's
He
saying
who
most
struck,
of mine?
sorry,
Yes.
you blessed. So he who strikes a man so that he dies shall surely be put to unalivement.
Sorry, read that again. I was putting on my jacket.
He okay.
Go.
He who strikes a man so that he unalives shall surely be put to unalivement. What's the unalivement there?
Spiritual.
Okay.
Christian.
So then verse 13. But if he did not, so let's just do that. If he did not lie in wait for him, but God let him fall into his hand, then I will appoint you a place to which he may flee. If, however, a man acts presumptuously toward his neighbor, so as to spiritually kill him craftily, you are to take him even from my altar that he may spiritually unalive. Is that right?
What? I don't understand the question yet.
Well, I tried to read it with your interpretation. Here, let's do another one. And he who kidnaps a man, whether he sells him or he is found in his possession, shall surely be put to spiritual unalivement. What's that mean?
It means God will cut you off from his living vine. Yeah.
Okay, so you can kidnap people. You're just not allowed to
No,
fellowship with
it's
God
addressing
anymore.
to people who kidnap.
Sorry?
It's addressing to people who kidnap.
Right. Yeah. So then just the penalty for that here in the Hebrew Bible is being separated from God.
Yeah. I don't understand why is it.
Why do you think that they have terms for that?
Because that's what people were doing.
No. Why do you think they have other terms for being separated?
What do you mean other terms?
Well, this isn't the word azav, right? To abandon, to leave. This is the word mot,
Okay. And
to unalive, right? To put to unalivement.
okay, so think about it like this. In the book of Genesis, when they ate the fruit, what happened?
They did not die.
No, but they got unalived, right?
No,
What
they
did
didn't.
they notice right away about
No, they
themselves?
didn't.
Okay, so then just answer the question. What
I
did they
did answer
notice?
the question.
No.
You didn't
What did they
understand it.
notice? What did they notice? What was the first thing they noticed after they ate the fruit?
That the serpent told the truth and that Yahweh did not.
Is that what Scripture says?
Yeah,
Or can you pull it up for me?
sure. Do you remember the text?
Yeah, Genesis.
What did the serpent say would happen when they ate of the fruit?
No, that's not the question I asked. I said,
Yeah, that's the question I'm asking.
So you're answering my question with a question.
I did answer your question. Now I'm asking you a question.
You didn't answer the question. You avoided it.
Yes, he
I did, actually.
No, because that's not Scripture. And I asked,
Quite succinctly,
I
actually.
asked you to pull it up.
He literally
You said,
just
what
said,
happened
yes, it
when they
is,
ate? And
he'll
I
show
said
you.
they did not unalive.
No, I said
That's called an
what was
answer
the
to
fir-
your
I said-
dumbass question.
I asked, what was the first thing that they noticed?
That they were naked.
Oh, how did they not know they were naked before they?
Oh, so you're going to ask me another question, or do I get to ask you my
No.
question now?
I'm just curious. How did they?
You want to ask me a few more? Go ahead, ask me a few more, and then I'll cook you.
Are you okay, buddy?
Oh, I'm fine.
All right, cool.
Go ahead. What else you got?
No, I don't got nothing else. I just want to know.
Oh, okay, great. So now answer my
from your
question. What did the
perspective-
serpent tell them would happen?
And so, from your perspective, why?
No. What? No. Don't ask me a question.
Okay.
You said you didn't have any
Ask
more.
your question by all means. Let's go.
Great.
Ladies first.
So what did the serpent say would happen to them when they ate of the
I don't know.
fruit?
You got to pull up the Scripture.
You don't remember? I thought you knew this story.
I only know my bits and pieces, man. Like I said.
Okay. Well, I'll help you. Right. So here's what the text says. Verse 1. Now the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, indeed, has God said, you shall not eat from any tree of the garden? And the
why
woman
did he not
said,
go to the man. He went to the woman, but why did he not go to the man?
do you scared of my question?
No.
You want to ask me another one?
I'm just adding a footnote.
I tell you what, I'll stop. You ask me all the questions you want, but you tell me when you're done so I can actually ask you my question.
No, you can continue.
Okay, good. And the woman said to the serpent, from the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat, but from the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, God has said, quote, you shall not eat from it or touch it, lest you unalive. And the serpent said to the woman, you surely shall not unalive. For God knows that in the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Now, what happened in the story?
You don't see the deception right there?
No, there is no deception, because what happened?
How is there
Deception from God.
No. How is there a
Do
deception?
you not remember it, or do you need me to read you that one too?
Hold on. I thought you said you would shut up and let me ask you the question.
Well, you didn't answer. You said you didn't know.
That's an answer. What do you mean?
Okay, great. Well, then I'm going to help you if you don't know. Here's what God says about it in verse 22.
Okay.
Then the Lord God said, behold, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil.
Yes. And look what
So
man.
show me where the serpent lied. Go ahead.
Sorry?
Show me where the serpent lied.
So go back to the verse that you were reading about the serpent and saying the unaliving.
Yep.
Go to the very
From the
end.
tree. You ready?
Yeah.
For God knows that in the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil.
And weren't they already like God?
Nope.
Why?
Well, the text says it. Do you not remember me just reading it to you? Then the Lord, this is verse 22. Be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet. No. You, sir, blessed. I'm just reading you the text that you don't know. Then the Lord God said, verse 22, behold, yeah. I know, you're scared. It's okay. Behold, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. So let me just read those back to back for you. Ready? This is verse 5. For God knows, I know, you're scared. For God knows that in the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Then the Lord God said, behold, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. So where's the lie?
So when he says become like one of us, who's speaking?
God.
God. Oh my God, bro, you are definitely derived by the devil. How is
Let me just read it. Let me just read it one more time for you.
One more time. Let's
Then
go.
the Lord God said, let me say it again.
I don't know if your friend
Then the Lord, wait, see if you're talking. That's what's happening here. You keep running that yapper of yours and you don't actually hear what I'm saying. So listen, then the Lord God said, remember, can you repeat it to me? What
The
did I say?
Lord God said.
Brilliant. Behold, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil.
Amen.
Mm,
So tell me what the lie was.
right in the beginning. Again, you don't wanna accept the fact. Wasn't
Just tell me
Adam
what the lie was. You said where it was. I'm asking you what it was.
what it was the serpent saying, be like God. They already were like God.
So
They were
God's
created
lying in
from
verse
spirit.
22?
They were created. No, God
Yeah,
had
is
to
God
tell them.
lying? Well,
God had to
what
tell
does
them
God
exactly.
mean? What does
Buddy,
God
God,
mean in
God
verse
had to tell
22?
them. God had to tell them exactly what they did so that they would know. What do you mean? You think God's not
He
going to tell
says,
you?
Dude.
so look, and look, this is where
Oh,
I'm just
please,
Wow.
concerned
bro. I
about
think it
you,
was
right?
brain cells, man.
So look,
This is
hey, hey,
unreal.
hey. So what does God mean? Is he wrong here when he says, then the Lord God said, behold, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. And now, lest he stretch out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore, the Lord God sent them out of the Garden of Eden to cultivate the ground from which he was taken. So is God wrong?
No, I definitely think you're wrong on this, and it's not even a think.
I'm just asking, why is God wrong here when he says that God was mistaken?
He didn't say God was mistaken.
I know. I'm
You're
asking you
saying
because
God is mistaken.
you must be saying
God,
that.
definitely saying God's not mistaken. I'm
Well, I
telling
mean,
you, the
you
serpent was
said
there
that they
to
were
deceive
already
you,
like
man.
God.
Yes, but we
Okay,
were
but
already rendered.
but God
So hold
says they
on,
weren't
hold on,
already
hold
like
on.
him.
Hold on, buddy. You have like a vengeance to go after somebody just living
Somebody that
like that.
dodges questions arrogantly.
Yes,
Yes, I
yes,
do.
arrogantly, yes, yes, absolutely, buddy. So think about it again, once again. How did Adam get created? How does it say?
In which creation story?
I don't know. Grab anyone. How was he created? How was the first man created? Was
There's
it from
two
a
different
woman?
stories.
Well, God spoke
What?
him into existence in Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. He formed him from the dirt.
Okay, so it didn't come from a woman, right?
No.
Oh, so that defines the laws of reality, right?
The laws of reality?
I can't produce a baby out of my body as a man. Can you?
Sorry, what does this have to do with the text?
Oh, so all of a sudden, when I start making sense, it doesn't make sense to you.
Well, believe me, you're not making
That's,
sense.
that didn't
Oh,
make any
oh,
sense at
so
all.
so
Like
if
nobody
God,
thinks you made
so you said
sense.
that there was two stories of
Yes.
Adam, correct?
Yes.
Two possible stories. Either
Not
he was
not too
created by the word.
possible.
No, there's only one possible that I
No,
know of.
there's not actually.
I only know one possible. It was from
I know you,
spirit that
but you don't
created man.
understand how the text functions, so that's okay.
No, yeah, you can
Blessed,
keep
blessed.
coming on
Hold
my
on, hold on,
character, but
blessed.
that's not the
Why would
problem.
blessed? Hold on a second. Why in the world would God say, "Behold, they have become like us"? If they were already like Him?
Because now they have to play the responsibility of good and evil. That's why. God didn't want that burden on our chest, on our shoulders, on our mind.
So God's talking to the divine council and he says, I know they're already like one of us, but I'm going to say out loud anyway, now they have become like one of us. Is that what you're saying?
No, your statement makes no sense. You can
I know
rephrase
it
it a
makes no
different way.
sense, right?
So
I'm
rephrase it
trying
a
to show
different way.
you
If
how
you
what
want
you're
to ask
saying
a
doesn't make
logical
any
question, if
sense.
you want to be an intellectual, dishonest person, then by all means, yeah, you can ask that question. But
So let's review, right? You
I
said
think
the
you're the one who
serpent,
needs to review it, not me. Yeah.
you said the serpent
Yeah.
lied to them, sir. You said the serpent
Sir, sir's
lied.
my father.
Yeah. You said the serpent lied, did you not?
Yeah,
What's the lie?
that they were going to be made like.
Not that they would be made like.
That they were like
No,
whatever.
not that they were like. That's not what the serpent said.
Okay.
You want me to read it to you for a fifth time?
It says one of us.
No. For God knows, Genesis 3:5, that in the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil.
All right, let's just say you and I were in the garden. You're the one who's Eve eating the full fruit. I'm the one that God stopped so that it wouldn't destroy mankind. So this is clearly why you're not understanding how the serpent deceived Adam and Eve. And well, Eve first.
Tell us how. Tell us how.
Because he told a lie. If man
What
was
was the
created
lie?
from spirit, hold on. Okay, so let's say it like this. So prior to the serpent, and it said that the serpent was the most craftiest of all creatures, correct?
Most
It was on
craftiest.
earth.
Yep,
So
that's
there
what
was
he said.
creatures
The
on
most
earth prior.
craftiest.
So that sentence is telling you that there was creatures on earth prior to Adam and Eve, right?
No, it doesn't say that.
No, it doesn't say that, but you can't read that
No, and
because
it doesn't
it's too
indicate that
small.
either.
No, it doesn't. Reread it for the 6th time. Let's go. You
Well,
love the scripture so
verse
much.
1
Let's read
has
it
nothing
again.
to do with
Let's
the
read it again.
chronology
I
of
don't
the.
want to hear it
Hey,
yet. Just
hey,
read it again. Let's go 6
tough
times.
guy,
It's not a tough guy. I'm just saying.
Genesis
Let's
3
read
1.
it again.
Hey,
Let's just read it again.
Genesis 3:1 doesn't speak to the chronology of the
Hey,
creation.
all I'm saying is let's talk about the verse again for the 6th time. What are you afraid of this time? It's only one extra time. You got, you
Sir,
got
if
fear,
you think
bro?
I'm afraid at
I
this
think you're
juncture,
afraid, bro.
okay.
You
Okay.
called me a tough guy for no reason. I don't know why you were calling me a
Well,
tough guy
because
for
you
no reason.
keep over talking me when I'm asking you questions.
Oh my God. Okay. What are we,
Okay.
12?
So
I'm over.
I'll read it again. This is Genesis 3:1. Now the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which the Lord
More
God had
crafty.
made.
Okay. More crafty. Just remember that.
I will try. What is your point?
Don't forget, Josh.
You can finish it.
Oh, okay. And he said to the woman, indeed, has God said, you shall not eat from any tree of the garden?
So why does he ask the woman what God said? Because he can't hear God, right?
That's not why.
So logically, give me the explanation. Why does he go to the woman and not know what God told her? If he's of God's creation.
So one, I don't think the text engages with that question. I don't think
No,
that's a
obviously
concern of
not.
the writer.
This is how you're supposed to read a book. You're supposed to ask questions as you read.
Well, when a book says people are supposed to be put to unalignment, it usually means they're actually put to unalignment. It doesn't mean that they're spiritually
Yeah,
abandoned.
no, it does
So,
mean
I mean, if
spiritually
you're
because
talking about
because this whole
intellectual,
world is.
honest
Listen,
definitions and
buddy,
context, then you're the one that's way off
if
here.
you're gonna go off of what you're saying, and we were going back to your Big Bang theory, and
All
that's
right, well,
how
let's
you
not let him,
understand
Abe, let's not let
it.
him weasel out of this. Let's not let
Let's
him
not
weasel
go
out of
Yeah,
there.
this.
Yeah,
no.
Look,
let's not
so
go
look,
there.
here's the question. Blessed, this is actually very simple.
You didn't even finish reading it the 6th time.
Okay, I'm going to try to help
We'll
you
finish.
here.
Don't worry.
Yeah. I'm afraid I'm going to have to read it again because you won't remember it. So, but here's the question, right? This is the problem that you're facing. Here's your interpretive hurdle. You have to explain what it is that the serpent lied about. You have said, because he
Like
said
it
two
said
things.
that they
He said,
made
hang
the
on,
serpent made them
hey,
believe that they were less
just
than
go with me
God.
for a second
I
without
just
interrupting
answered your
me.
question.
Just
What
go,
do you want
yeah.
more? You want to take?
You're not understanding it. Just wait.
All right,
Okay.
all right.
The
Let's go.
serpent said two things to the woman.
Okay.
He said,
Two things,
you
actually.
won't unalive, right?
Mhm.
So negatively, you will not unalive. That's what Yahweh said, but it won't happen. You won't unalive. Okay.
Okay.
But then there was a 2-part positive. Your eyes will be opened and you will be like God,
Were they
knowing good
walking
and
around
evil.
blindly? So what are they referring to if your eyes were not open? Were they walking around like blind people?
Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm perfectly
Okay. So let's review. What it wouldn't happen that they would die. Right. So they're not going to die, but their eyes will be opened and they
Mhm.
will know good and evil and be like God. Right. Do you agree that that's what the text says?
No.
You don't agree. All right, so let's read it again for the 47th time.
Yeah.
And the serpent said, verse 4, to the woman, you surely shall not die.
Yeah. Again,
Okay,
you're
so you
believing the
agree
word
that's
of
what
the
that says.
serpent. You're believing the word
Sir,
of the
just
serpent.
answer my question.
Okay, no problem.
Part 1, you agree, right?
No.
The serpent says, you will not die.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that. Because
So you don't think that's what the serpent said?
No, I don't agree with what the serpent really did.
No. Do you agree
Oh my
that
God.
that is what the story
hardest
here
one
is
ever.
saying the serpent said?
No, I don't.
So when I read it to you, and the
doesn't sound like that,
serpent
no.
said to the woman, quote, you surely shall not die. You're saying the text doesn't say that the serpent said, quote, you surely shall not die, just to make sure I understand you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where else to go with the Ape.
Yeah,
Where
all
can
good.
you go with that? Like it's,
You guys, literally, I apologize for the fact that you guys don't want to understand that you have been deceived by a serpent. And you're reading it like 7 times, 50, 47 times, and you still don't understand how the craftiness of the serpent made man and woman believe that they were less than.
so
Sorry, he
is one
broke
of the
up for me.
commandments of thou shalt not spiritually kill? You there?
Oh, maybe he didn't just break up for me. Maybe I went into a bad area. Blessed, we can't hear you.
Well, let's take that as a sign from the Almighty there.
Wow.
Unreal, man. Like, how do you?
I don't.
Well, I'm not sure I've ever encountered anything quite like that.
You know, I don't think I've. I don't remember. Did I tell you about my experience on those panels at Bart Ehrman's Hebrew Bible conference past couple of days?
No, but please do. Please
Yeah,
do.
real quick. So I was on a panel. The first panel was with John Collins and Shauna Delansky and Ron Hendel, and we were talking about like new insights or like amazing discoveries or whatever breakthroughs in the field of Hebrew Bible in the last 50 years. And then the one yesterday was with David Carr and Joseph Lamb and Sarah Schechtman, I think. And we were talking about contradictions in Genesis. And in both places, or in both panels, I ended up talking about like what we do, like the public facing scholarship that I do online, and like what like you and I do at places here, and like what Kip Davis and I do, and I'm telling these like seasoned scholars in the field of Hebrew Bible, several of them emeritus at this point, and they're like, really? Like that there are people that say that? Like the one that sticks in my mind is I said, yeah, I feel like I spend a lot of time trying to do internal critiques on people's positions and saying to them, look, if your position is correct, you have to imagine 3 million people are walking out of Egypt, in the 15th century. That's all of that's the entirety of the population of Egypt in New Kingdom, right? Like that's basically everybody that was there. And
Yeah.
and Ron Hendel up at Berkeley, he said, yeah, but I mean, like all that stuff, like in Joshua, it's primarily fiction, and they need to understand that. And I'm like, yeah, I know that, right? You know that, but they don't know that. And he was like, no, but they really need to understand that it's fiction. And I was like, yes, I know.
It just never considered that people are taking it serious.
And it's just so like if I were to tell them, I'll drop that after this because I'm probably being boring. But I remember I went out to
No, don't be silly.
Megan and I went out to dinner several years ago, a couple years after we'd started our YouTube channel, and we went out to dinner, a departmental dinner up at Hopkins with a bunch of the faculty and staff. And we were sitting at a table with Glenn Schwartz and his husband. Glenn Schwartz is the he was the department chair for a while, but he's like the lead archaeologist up there. And we were talking. His husband Van is a high level astronomer, and he was talking. He was talking about how like there was a satellite that. Oh, sorry. He was talking about how there was a satellite that had been up orbiting the Earth for, I don't know, however many months or years, whatever, collecting data on the astral bodies. And I'm saying things that I'm sure I'm saying incorrectly, but because the ozone layer, created slight variations or something in the angles and calculations or whatever. So if you had one up and outside of the atmosphere, it could get these really, detailed, close. Anyway, and that satellite was going to be landing that day. And so people had been presenting all these papers at this conference that day because once that new data came in, all their papers would be obsolete because they'd have to factor all that new data in. So they were trying to get all their papers presented so they could get them done and say, well, that data hadn't come in yet. Anyway, so he tells us this and, there's this like lull. And I said, man, isn't it crazy how many people believe the Earth is flat? And this like high level astronomer looks at me and his jaw kind of like, his mouth kind of opens a little bit and he goes, people don't believe that. I was like, oh, but they do. And that's what this felt like. It was like, yeah, people believe the Earth. No, they don't. Yeah, people believe that the conquest, like that still happened. No, they don't. Yeah, so anyway, I just thought that was
It's fun. Well, it's funny you say that because I used to think flat earthers were just being weird trolls until I actually met one.
Yeah.
Like it took me like nearly an hour to realize he was being serious.
Yep.
I was just, well, now you made a lot of them, but I thought the same thing. I was like, there's no way people actually think that. Like it's 2026. Like,
yeah, I mean, like we have
whatever
drones, right?
it
You can take a camera drone up in the air. You can like watch a ship sail over the horizon. Then you could take the drone up in the air 100 feet and see the ship again.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, everything like GPS coordinates, like
Oh, right.
coordinates work. They don't work on a square grid. They only work on a globe. Like it's not.
Yeah, but that's all a conspiracy. So
Oh, of course. Yeah. It just
God.
works by coincidence. I'm sure.
Yeah, right.
That's-
Well, thank
that's
you
wild,
for-
man. It's a wild thing.
Thank you for letting me come up. And just to let everybody know, Megan absolutely knocked her paper out of the park. It was amazing because she spoke at the conference as part of like the lead speakers. And she did a comparative analysis of ancient Near Eastern creation stories and how they affect the first 11 chapters of Genesis. And it was phenomenal. So anyway.
Do you know by chance when they'll have the public recordings out?
Oh, it's available now. They won't be public. They're behind a paywall.
Oh, well, I mean, as far as I thought he said, I was reading on the website. I thought he said it would take a while. Or
Oh, really?
It would take a little while after the thing. Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe I was misread something or got the wrong idea in my head. But
You know what? You could be right. Yeah. Now I'm not sure. I thought they were like immediately available, but if you've read it, I haven't read it. So
well, maybe they are. I remember reading about it on the thing, and it said the live replays or whatever will be reposted or be made available after the something. But maybe it meant like right after that. I don't know.
Well, see, here's what happens. Like, I'm playing the role of the apologist right now, right? I'm making definitive claims about something I haven't read, and you're playing the role of the atheist and saying, "Wait a second, I've actually read the website. It doesn't say that." So,
It didn't exactly say what I said either. I just took it to mean like it was going to be a bit after the event, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, but you actually read it, so we should probably default to your position, not mine.
That's right. I am the scholar here. Yes.
Oh gosh.
I have read the literature in this.
Indeed. All right.
I'm the scholar bro now. Yes.
Oh gosh. Oh, I will tell you my one dad joke. Sorry, that I came up with. If everybody's familiar with source criticism and redaction criticism, you have like the documentary hypothesis, right? The J source, the E source, the D source, the P source, whatever. But what everybody agrees on is that there's a Priestley set of material. They call that P for Priestley. And then you've got everything else, and they call that non-P, right? So P and non-P, very creative.
Gentile P, yes.
So I did my little intro, my 6-minute introduction to this panel about the contradictions in Genesis, and I said, I encounter people online more and more now that are Christian apologists that are really getting into philosophy. And so when we talk about contradictions, they always say to me, what's the P and not P? Get it? Because, what's what proposition and the not proposition to create a...
Yeah, you set it up really good, yes.
Did I, though? Did I? Yeah. Well, I was very generous of you. But anyway, all right.
God.
On that note, I've embarrassed myself thoroughly. I will drop down. Thanks for letting me come up, man. I'll see ya.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Dr. Josh. God damn it. It's too funny, man. Like, how you get such a damn... I guess you don't think of scholars being such goofs, so... Oh, man, that's funny. All right. We got several people in the queue here, so... All right, I think Donald's up here a minute ago. Let's try that. W is for Dr. Josh there. Dylan, you there? Dylan? Yeah.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, you ever?
Hey, I'm pretty good. How you doing? Yeah, I'm
Pretty good.
33.
And cool. Are you a Christian or a Hebrew Israelite?
I'm a Christian.
Cool, man. So which one of the topics you want to talk about?
So, number one seems pretty good, and then that'll sort of answer number two as well, but number one.
Okay, God is cruel and unjust. So you would disagree with that, obviously.
Yes. But that's from
so-
my paradigm.
Right. Would you consider it cruel to unalive somebody for picking up a stick?
Well, let's ask, and I'll answer that question, but what do you consider cruel? Where do you get your basis of morals and values?
Well, cruelness is just kind of a subjective matter on whether something's like overly bad or not, or something, or harmful.
So it's subjective?
Yeah, this is all subjective. Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, well, are you saying the Bible's all subjective, or what you're saying is all subjective?
I'm just saying cruel is subjective.
So then, by whose metric do you use cruel? Because you probably wouldn't
Well, that's why I'm
accept.
asking you. I'm trying to figure out if we have the same idea of cruel or not. But that's why I'm asking you about scenarios.
Well, so when it comes to the Bible, whatever God does or implements is always good. So that's my
Always.
objective. Always, yeah. So never changing. So now, can
So if God
you
does
explain
something,
something
good.
that's never? Yes. So can you explain how your morals would be unchanging, or are your morals unchanging?
No, my morals can change. Yeah. Like if somebody gives me better information, I'll update what I think about them. Like for example, I don't think
So
it's
then,
okay to own slaves, but if God clearly allows people to own slaves, so that makes slavery good, right?
Well, did he? So you know that the Bible didn't have a word for indentured servitude, right? Because there are other scriptures
Yeah,
where it
but
says, if you steal a
I'm not
man
talking
from
about
another
indentured
land, let
servitude,
that
I'm
man
talking
be
about
put
a
to death.
slave. Yeah.
Well, no, the Bible is talking about an indentured servitude when it comes to
Well, it talks
how to
about
treat
that, but it
slaves.
makes well, it talks about that, but it also talks about chattel slaves. It makes a differentiation between a debt slave and a chattel slave.
Well, yeah. What does the Bible say about when you take someone into chattel slavery?
Says they're your property for life, and you can pass them on to your children as inherited property. And it says these you may treat
So
as slaves.
there isn't a verse that's saying that if you steal a man, then let that man be put to death.
Yeah, that's in Exodus 21. Yeah, but that's not what it's
Hmm.
talking. That's not saying you can't own a slave. That's saying you can't kidnap a man and make him a slave. It's the same thing as saying it's legal to own a car, but you have to purchase that car legally. You can't go steal somebody else's car and keep it. Right? It's the same thing.
Well, I don't think it really is exactly the same thing the way that you're explaining it, because you have to look at the context. And so,
Right?
do you know what dispensationalism is?
No.
So that's pretty much the word for when, why, and how God chooses to do something.
Yeah, it usually tells you.
Yeah. So but what I'm saying is
Yeah,
that
it's not a
in
mystery. It
certain
tells you
times
why he's doing the stuff that he does. Yeah.
well, no. I'm not saying that that part's a mystery, but I'm saying the when is important because would you say that when it comes to sort of leading a whole mass of people, you have to be very careful about it, right?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, I mean, like, say you were put in charge of a city of 5 million people. Would you be able to make, or should you make decisions all willy nilly without thinking of everything?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay, cool. So that's sort of the same case because God has to deal with people where they're at. And
Well, then
the
why does
culture
God
sort
say
of,
his laws are perfect and keeping these laws are what's doing good and right in his sight, and you should keep them all the days you live on the earth?
well, which law says not to take another person? I mean, because if by your by your worldview, I'm sure we could find a reason why slavery would be good and not cruel, because you don't have
You said if God
an
allows it,
objective.
it's good, and God is clearly allowing slavery here. It's saying you can
Well,
own
no,
people as property.
no, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that through your worldview, since it is subjective, me and you can I mean, if you're being honest, we could probably find a way that slavery is good.
Yeah, but that's what makes it subjective. You can sit here and come up with unrealistic hypotheticals where slavery might be the better option in that scenario, but in reality, there's no good slavery. Like there's not a you can't own it's wrong to own people as property. It should never happen. It's illegal.
Not so you couldn't think of a scenario where that wouldn't be cruel and unjust?
Yeah, you can make up weird stories and hypotheticals like I said, but not in reality.
I mean, I don't think you would need to make up anything weird or too outlandish to be able to for us to be able to agree that it wouldn't be necessarily cruel or unjust.
No, you're not going to get me to agree that owning a slave, owning somebody's property is not cruel or unjust. It's both of those.
So then, so then your morals are sort of objective, like unchanging.
I mean, maybe. Can you think you can give me a good reason to accept slavery as a kind thing or a good thing?
Well, yeah, I could think of a couple. So say we have a whole group of, and I'm new to TikTok, so I'm not sure what's allowed to be said or whatever, but adults that take liberties with children's sexual or what is it? PDF file is how you guys say it on here.
Uh, yeah, PD. Just say PDF file.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, yeah. I'm still pretty new to this, so please be patient with
That's
me.
all right.
But okay, so
No, I got you.
say we had a whole group of PDF files, right? And they
Like
kept
Moses in
on.
number 31.
Let's just follow where I'm going, and then we can talk about that.
Oh, well, yeah, go ahead.
So a whole group of PDF files, and they just keep on doing their thing. Now, would you say that it would be wrong? Like, we don't want to kill them, but there is work that needs to be done that no one is willing to do. Like, say, work on a farm or work to create produce. Would it be wrong as part of their, I guess, service, part of the justice that's been implemented on them to make them serve their time while working on that farm?
Sure, that's why I said you can come up with hypotheticals where it seems to be the better option, but that never happens in reality. Where's their group of PDF files?
Well, I mean, we have prisons in general because people do bad
I'm
things.
saying if you're going to sway
And they
me
do
towards
they
something
do do
realistic, you're going to
labor.
have to give me a realistic scenario.
No, that's what I'm saying is that so we do have prisons now, and I'm not sure how many, but a lot of them have work programs, correct?
Yeah. I actually know people on work release
Would
right now
you
that are making pretty dang good money.
would you say that they're technically a slave because they can't, necessarily stop or leave when they want? And I'm not talking about work release in terms of like probation or having the ankle monitor. I mean, like, you are still going to the prison, back to the prison at the end of the
No,
day.
because they're getting paid and you can't beat them at your leisure.
Well, do you think it happens?
No.
No. Do you think like guards who are jerks beat them at their leisure some?
Oh, that does happen, yeah. But they're supposed to be held accountable for that. That's not legal. That's because it's
I
not
mean,
just.
don't you think? Okay, but even in the instance, they can't really make decisions on where they go, or at the
No,
end
they're
of the day. So
incarcerated.
that would be slave.
Right.
Yeah. So
No, it's
God
still not
does
slavery. It's
say how.
incarceration.
Well, I mean, they're being forced to work, are they not?
You can maybe force them to work, but they're still paying them. And they
Well,
can't
I mean,
legally just beat them just because it's just not the same. They're not owned as property. There's a sentence being served. They're getting out. Being a slave is a slave for life. There's no way out unless a master just wants to release you. But they're slaves for life. It says you can pass them on to your children as property. It's a lifelong
well,
sentence.
so
Not to
someone
mention the
does life in
slaves in the
prison.
Bible isn't even just criminals. It's people born into slavery. If you have a slave that has kids, they belong to you too. And those children certainly didn't do
Well,
anything
you
bad.
s- well you said that the prisons have rules for how to treat the inmates, correct?
Yeah.
So, I mean, God
Yeah.
also puts out rules on how to treat slaves.
Yeah, it says you can't he says if you beat them and they die within a day or two, then you should be punished. Other than that, that's fine.
So, so there is some recompense for treating,
Well, what
slaves
exactly is your
poorly.
position here? That God's allowing slavery and he don't like it, or what? Or
Well,
this
no,
isn't actual slavery? Like, what exactly are you saying?
well, what I'm trying to get to is that you can't actually say something is bad or not bad because your position is subjective, and we did come up with a scenario
I can
where
say
you
it's
did
bad, and I can
agree.
base that on actual reasons. You can't give me actual reasons for anything except my God don't like it. You don't even have morals. You have commands. You're commanded to do things. This isn't about morality. It's about you obeying
Based off of what? Based off of morals or
based on
commands?
the
So,
word
what
of
would you
God.
say that those are
Remember,
different?
you said anything God does is good, right?
Yeah.
So was it good that He allowed people to own other people as property?
So he worked with the type of people that and culture that was around back then.
That makes it good, right?
It makes it better than just him coming down
Was
and
this slavery
forcing
good or not?
this slavery. So no, it wasn't. But God was working with a people
Okay. So
that.
God doesn't, everything God does isn't good, is it?
Well, the example I tried bringing it up earlier about, if you were running a whole city, is that you would have to be very careful, so that way you don't
Yeah, but we're talking about
cause
God here.
no, I understand, but even with God God
Is God
can
capable of saying,
he's
hey,
on.
don't own people as property?
Yes, and eventually he does. Once the culture
He
starts
does.
steering away from that.
Okay, well, now you get to show us where God says don't own people as property.
Yep, one sec.
This will be great.
And then if it sounds like I'm interrupting you, there is a little bit of a lag, so it's not on purpose.
No, it's all right, man. You can tell when somebody's doing
Okay,
it
cool.
like incessantly or something like you're not. You've been great to talk to so far.
I appreciate it. You as well.
I do what I can, man. If you
So,
want, I'll save you a little bit of time.
hey,
Like, there's nowhere in the Bible that forbids slavery in any sense.
well, Exodus 21:16. That's the verse I was talking
That's
about
the kidnapping
earlier.
person. Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah, you
wouldn't
remember
that
the
be?
analogy I gave you about the car?
But isn't the ownership just the onus on this? Like, it doesn't matter how you get the person. Like, you have that person.
This says you can't kidnap a person. That's it. It doesn't say you can't purchase a person. It doesn't say you can't own a person. It says you can't kidnap a person.
So what? Okay, but
But I mean,
what
right above
happens after
that, it
you
clearly
kidnap
says
them?
when you buy a male Hebrew slave, when you sell your daughter as a slave. So you can sell your daughter into slavery and you can buy male Hebrew slaves. You cannot kidnap male Hebrew slaves.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to say is what do you think they do after they kidnap them? What do you think happens to them?
You can just turn them into a slave or whatever, but it's illegal.
Okay, okay then. So there's
It's a
that
sin.
bit,
You're
and I
breaking the
understand.
law. It's a sin. Yeah.
Okay, and then I would agree that it says what you say it says in the previous ones. But let's go to Galatians 3:28. There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you all are all one in Christ. So it's pretty much making us all equal. So would you
Well, that
say
can't
that
be
that's
right
sort
because
of,
God has favorites.
well, in the beginning, sure, but they keep on messing up.
Yeah, but that's just saying God might not look at you can be. That's just saying you can be equal in the eyes of God. It's not saying you can't own a slave. That's completely different.
Well, so I mean, being equal in the eyes of the Lord. I mean, if someone were to take you into slavery right now, um, would like in the eyes of God, because obviously he tries to be as hands off as possible. Um, but to God, we all have uh, equality. Don't you think that says something?
No, I don't think we even have equality.
What
This religion is
according
divisive
to,
by its very nature. Even Jesus proclaims that. He says, "I did not come to
well,
bring peace to the earth. I came to bring a sword. I came to pit son against father and daughter against mother." Like he's literally saying people are going to turn on each other because of this.
no, I would agree with that, but that's because the whole world is filled with degeneracy, evil, murder, sexual
Yeah, but I think
immorality.
God's laws are
So,
evil. He allows slavery. That's evil. I
well,
think it's
you
evil.
well you can't even objectively say what is evil because you said it's subjective.
There's no way to
So,
listen, you can't objectively say anything about any of this. Like, for example, if I asked you if it was objectively wrong to unalive innocent babies, you would probably say yes. Am I correct in assuming that?
for me to do it, yeah.
Oh, but it's not objectively wrong for God to do it. Is that what you're about to say?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then you don't know what objective means. Because if it's okay in some instances, like when God does it, you've just made it subjective.
No, I didn't.
What
Because
if God tells you to do it?
so, well, he wouldn't.
He does tell people to do these things all through the book.
In the past, but he wouldn't tell us that now. So
Well, wouldn't he?
that's the dispensationalism I'm talking about. There's different things he does for different people throughout time. That's why there's an old covenant and new covenant.
Yeah, but the law doesn't change in the new covenant.
Well, what law are we talking about?
I was talking about slavery, but I was talking about an example where God unalives innocent babies. If you're saying this is objectively wrong because God says it's objectively wrong, he does it. Like, he's breaking his own objective standards.
So the reason why he did that was for a greater good and to, what is it, leave a road open for us to be able to be saved.
Well, I mean, what do you think being saved really even is? What do
Well,
you need to
so
be saved from?
ourselves.
So you're being saved from yourself.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So God doesn't send us to hell. Now, different people have different, descriptions of hell. But either way, hell is not a good place as described in the Bible. So we send ourselves to hell with our actions, and God gives us a way out. He doesn't want us to go to hell,
Okay, so
but
what does he base your actions on? What actions can have you sent to hell?
so it's the main one is not accepting Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. That's the very
So he
that's
will
the
burn
very
you for
first and
eternity
most
if you
important.
don't accept Jesus.
No, he won't do it. We will. We send ourselves there. I've already said that.
Oh, who decided to send people to hell if they don't believe?
What is hell? It's a separation of God from God. So if you don't, so
Jesus
why
says,
would
if
he?
you didn't do these things, you are going to eternal fire, is what Jesus says.
And what were those things?
Not giving people water when they were thirsty, or clothes when they were naked, or visiting them in prison.
Do you know why he says that?
Yeah, because he's judging you based on your works.
Well, the reason why he's saying that is because it stems out of love. So if we don't do things that stem out of love for our fellow people, and especially for the right things, then we could be, that'll lead us to hell. Like it says, our works are nothing, so that way we're not boastful. So that's why, like, you could do all the good things you want, but
Yeah,
a
but who set
relationship
up the
with Christ
system where
is what's
people go
necessary.
to hell if they don't do those things?
Well, we essentially did. So
So
if God
we
was,
created this system.
well, see, like it's a cause and effect. So because there are people who don't want to be with God, he created a place that is totally separate from God. So if we didn't rebel against him, there would
Why
be
did
no
he make
place
it
like
about
that.
torture? Yeah, but it's about torture.
Well, does it say that it's literal torture? Because a lot of things are.
Well, I'm assuming
That's what
eternal
I'm saying.
fire isn't eternal massages.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that some say that the fire can represent it's talking about fire and gnashing of teeth. It's saying that it could be, sorry, it could be saying that it's the fire of anger of those who didn't come to, aren't with God, or that they should have made the right decision or what have you. But what, so
Yeah, but
if
that
God,
doesn't make any sense. If you didn't want to be with God, why would you be angry that you're not with Him? You just got what you wanted. Why would you be mad about that?
because, well, so this is the reason why. So if God was real, would you like him?
No, no way. I'm worshiping this
No.
God.
Okay, so would you want to be forced for eternity to be with him?
No, that's what I'm saying. If I chose separation from God and got that, I have no reason to be gnashing my teeth and mad about it.
Well, it's because you don't know how bad a life totally without God is.
Hey, well, I mean, whatever. Like, I can't serve a deity that allows slavery, has women raped, and makes the Israelites eat their own children. Not
He
cool.
made that Israelites eat their own. Where does it say that he made the Israelites eat their own children?
Jeremiah 19.
Jeremiah 19.
You want me to read it to you?
Sure, yeah.
It says, yeah, it says, I will make this city a horror, a thing to be hissed at, and everyone who passes by it will hiss because of all of its disasters. And I will make them eat the flesh of their sons and the flesh of their daughters, and all shall eat the flesh of their neighbors in the siege and in the distress with which their enemies and those who seek their lives afflict them. It's the siege of Jerusalem. He has it destroyed.
One sec, I'm just reading it over real quick. It's not that I don't trust you, it's just that I want to read it for myself as well.
I understand. Go ahead. That's Jeremiah 19, verse 8 and 9.
hmm
And then we can go to other chapters
All
like
right,
Isaiah
so
13 where God's commanding baby murder and rape. And you can tell me why God would command stuff like that.
okay, so this chapter is pointing in the prophetic book of Jeremiah. All right, so
Yeah.
obviously, like we've read, God instructs the prophet Jeremiah to deliver a message concerning judgment upon Judah due to their idolatry
Yeah.
and disobedience. Okay,
Exactly.
so God tells Jeremiah to buy a clay jar from a potter and take some elders, priests, to the valley of Ben Hinnom near the entrance of the Potter Gate. So this is significant because the valley was associated with child sacrifice and idolatry,
Yeah.
right?
So the obvious answer
Okay,
for
so
God, if you're sacrificing your children to other gods, is to make you eat your children, right?
yeah. So I was about to get to that. So in 3 to 9, which is sort of the bracket that or what you said is in that bracket. So Jeremiah told God's message of the impending disaster. Okay, so this was a prophecy.
Yeah.
But the
It was a
people, they
proclamation, prophecy.
abandoned, yeah. So that's because the people abandoned God to worship others and doing detestable things, sacrificing children. And so
Yeah.
them,
Well, he wasn't. Whoa. He wasn't mad that they were sacrificing children. He was mad that they were sacrificing children to Baal, to other gods.
well, God doesn't really make people. I mean, He said for Abraham to show his faith to sacrifice his son, but He stayed His hand in that. Um, but so these actions, angered. Oh shit. Hey, I'm really sorry. The work's calling right now. I think I got to bounce, but I really enjoyed this conversation though. And
Yeah, me too.
if
Come
you're,
back sometime and we'll finish it out. Let's just get into the good part for real.
yeah, definitely. What time do you usually go live? Because I work in the Middle East.
I'm usually on 8 a.m. American Central.
Okay, 8
And I
a.m.
usually stay on for at least a couple hours. So.
Okay, sounds good, man. All right, I'll definitely look out for your live again.
Cool, man. Cool, man. Yeah, please do.
All right, have a good one.
You too, man. All right, let's see. What was it? That made it easy. Catherine, you there? Or Catherine? You there, Catherine?
Hi, yeah, sorry.
That's all right. Are you over 18?
Yes, I am 41.
Cool. Are you one of the Christians or Hebrew Israelites?
No, I am a
Oh,
born again atheist.
oh, I hear you. We're just looking to. Did you request up on purpose?
No, it was an accident. I was trying to push a button and then I noticed that all of a sudden I was going on, so I'm sorry. But
Oh,
I did
no.
want to say I appreciate what you're doing and keep it up, man.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the encouragement there, and will do. And no problem about the accident. It happens all the time. Happens all the time. Anyway, we had like 4 people in the queue, but they have run away. So, all right, I still got a little while. So, let's see here. What's it been 2? All right. Well, if you are a Christian or a Hebrew Israelite, come on up. The last guy got cut off right when we was about to get to the good stuff. Darn it. Darn it. Yikes. Anyway, come on up. If you are a Christian or a Hebrew Israelite and you are capable of an adult conversation, that would be great. BHI means Black Hebrew Israelite. Wheezy, thank you. Thank you for the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing too, man. That's awesome. That made my gold hit. Thank you, Wheezy. Appreciate that. Heck yeah. Let's set a new one. Let's set a new one. Appreciate that. Awesome. It's been a while since I hit my gift goal, I think. Oops. Yeah, I appreciate that. All right. Let's see if we can get the next one up here. Oh, wait, nope. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We got the man. What's up, No Degree?
Nothing much. Same old, same old.
What up, dog? I hear you. Hey, what was you saying Dr. Josh said last time? Do you remember?
Uh, I don't know. He and
You
I
said it.
agree. Oh, well, I may have said
Yeah, you
something
said he
like
admitted something.
he and I agree that with most things, but he believes the Bible endorses chattel slavery, and I don't believe it does. But I don't know
Yeah.
what. There's been a few things that he has acknowledged, which is why I don't really like debating him because I like using him to argue against atheists. So I like keeping him on my side in agreements. But I can't remember specifically what we were talking about. If you remember what we were talking about, that might jog my memory. Because there's been a
Yeah, I don't
number.
remember either. I just remember you said he admitted something about something like this, and
Well, I know that
it all
what
sounded like something like he would say to me.
I know that Dr. Josh. What first got me? I first heard Dr. Josh on a podcast with, I believe, Seth Andrews, this atheist guy who he used to be a Christian radio host, and he became an atheist. And
Yeah, I've met him before.
yeah, he on that podcast, Dr. Josh Bowen was criticizing atheists because atheists were saying that Numbers chapter 5 is a prescription for an abortion. And that may have been what we're talking about. And Dr. Josh Bowen says that's not an accurate representation of Numbers chapter 5, and he believed atheists went too far when they tried to make that argument. And Seth Andrews, you know, to Seth's credit, had him on there and listened to what he had to say. And that was kind of what made me first notice Dr. Josh Bowen, because one of the common arguments atheists have said, maybe that's what we talk about. I'm not sure, but there've been several things that he and I agree with.
So
But
you
he did.
said Josh, you're saying Dr. Josh said Numbers 5 is not about abortion.
Yeah, Numbers 5 is not a prescription for an abortion. Now, his position is if it's the case that the woman is pregnant with somebody that they had, I think, got pregnant by somebody who he wasn't married to, and that happened, then it would abort the baby. But he said that the atheists go too far when they say that's a prescription for an abortion. And I would agree with him, and that's kind of what put
Well,
when
that
I
makes no
first.
sense. Like, if that is about an abortion, if the baby's aborted, that's what we're talking about.
Well, I mean, but the text is not about an abortion. The text is about a test for an adultery, a guy, you know, suspecting of
Right,
wife of
right.
being unfaithful. So when atheists want to say, "Oh, well, your God doesn't, you know, have a problem with abortion," in fact, he offers a potion for an abortion. That's where Dr. Josh Bowen would say that atheists are going too far by making that claim. But that may have been what we were talking about. I don't really know. There's been several things that he and I.
I think it was something about slavery. I just can't remember what it was.
I'm trying to think. Maybe it was about. It was probably about the Exodus 21, where it's talking about what the woman, you know, the rights of the woman, and he has saying that now he's saying, as strange as that may seem to us, this is meant to be a protection for the woman. You know, about the what you can and can't do.
Oh, that is what you
That's
were
probably
saying.
what
You
it.
said he admitted this was protection for the daughter, is why they sold them as slaves.
Well, I don't know if I mean, it's not like what I'm saying is he agrees that that's what this law was meant to do. Now, as far as admit, it's not like I'm not saying he didn't do it and then I got him to admit it or anything. No, the reason why I know this was I heard him on a podcast with Dr. Bart Ehrman, and he had talked to Dr. Bart Ehrman about these passages, and he said something about, as strange as it may seem to us, this was meant to be a protection for the woman. Is probably that's what we were probably talking about.
So it's Dr. Josh's position is that this is about protection for a woman.
Now he may think that it's a bad thing or it's not good. It's not a good way to protect, but he would say that this law was meant to offer protection for the women. It's not meant to like mistreat even though he may view it as mistreating, it wasn't the intention there. They thought they were providing would have thought that they were providing a service of protection, keeping her safe. And that's what he and I agree with, because that's how I've always read a lot of those passages, particularly when it gets to Deuteronomy, where it seems to allow for the man it seems to allow.
Why wouldn't they just you could just betroth your daughter to somebody and get paid a bride price. It seems like selling them as a slave is a completely different thing.
Well, I think, that kind of probably is some sort of giving them as a wife to somebody or something. And it's not like I don't think it's necessarily meant to be, oh yeah, let's sell my daughter as a slave here. I don't think that's what they were doing. I think they were thinking, okay, here's a person. This is a person maybe with good financial backing, things like that. Let's go
so
through
why
this
not just
process.
betroth them? Why doesn't it say if you betroth your daughter to someone? This says when a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. So the first sentence is clarifying that if you sell a female, they don't get to go out like a male slave does.
Well, and that's what and then he's saying something about if he doesn't please the master, if he gives him to the son as a wife, doesn't please him, then you can't deny her conjugal rights or deny her rights and things like this. That's what he's saying is, but as strange as it may seem to us, this is meant to be a protection for the women. And that's what I would agree with him on. And that's kind of what,
Oh,
that's probably what we were talking about. And
oh,
I like
oh,
bringing
yeah.
that out. I like using that against atheists who want to say the Bible is just so mean and misogynistic to women.
Well, I mean, it is. Either way, you're selling your daughter as a slave.
Well, they didn't look at it in that cultural context as mean and mistreating of women. Is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
but we consider slavery bad, don't we?
Well, it depends on what forms.
Oh, so there's some good slavery.
Yeah, I think there's some morally justified forms of slavery, sure.
Like what?
I don't have a problem with someone uh, becoming a slave to the states after they've committed some sort of crime or against someone else and stuff like that. I would be
Oh, the good kind of
perfectly
slavery.
fine with that. Yeah, that would be one I'd be okay with.
So biblical slavery, though, you're not okay with.
No, I am okay. I am okay with biblical slavery. Depending on,
Oh,
I mean,
so you are okay with chattel
I wouldn't
slavery.
be okay with the form where I wouldn't be okay with it where the Egyptian taskmaster type slavery, because the Bible seems to be definitely against that type of slavery, kidnapping someone against their will and making them a slave, things like that. But I would be okay with the indentured servitude type stuff. I think that under certain context, lack of social safety nets and stuff, I think that would be a morally justified thing to do.
Okay, so do you think it's okay to raise a child as a slave?
When you mean raise a child as a slave, do you
Well, you
mean like,
own, like if your slave has children, they're not actually the slaves, they're your property as well. So they're born into your slavery.
well, under certain context, then I wouldn't say it's
Biblical
necessarily wrong.
context.
Yeah, under a biblical
Biblical
context, like
context.
under Exodus 21 or something like that, I wouldn't really have a problem with it. Where the guy goes out.
This is
Um,
deeply disturbing.
well, I think if you understand what was going on during that time period, again,
I
I
do.
think that all of that is meant to protect the woman and the kids.
Yeah. So you think doing selling your daughter as a slave is doing her as a favor?
Well, I mean, yeah, I would say under that context, it wouldn't be bad. I mean, people still these arranged marriages and these contracts still exist today in certain places.
Yeah, I don't mean they're right.
Well, I mean, I
It
think,
sounds like you're just okay with biblical slavery. So I mean, like this
yeah,
is chattel
I'm not
slavery.
really
Selling your
just.
daughter as a slave, like you're fine with it. Just say
Well,
it.
I don't think it's chattel slavery, because when I look at chattel slavery, I look
It's
chattel
owning
slavery
people as
just.
property. That's what
Yeah,
chattel slavery is.
I don't think the Bible is viewing people as owning other people.
It says you may keep them as a possession for your children after you, for them to inherit as property. It literally calls people your property. It says
Yeah,
they shall be your property.
but I don't think it's implying that you own them.
They're your property.
Well, yeah, I mean, my wife is a possession. You could say in one form she's my property and I'm her property, but I don't think I own my wife. Only the
Well, in
Bible says
Roman
the
law
earth.
and Hebrewic law, you literally did own them as property. They were your
Well,
property. They
I
said
don't
this
think
all the time.
I don't think you can make that case under the Hebrew law. There's a different.
Sure,
There's
you
a
can. It says,
distinct.
as for the male and female slaves whom you may have, it is from the nations around you that you may acquire male and female slaves. You may also acquire them from among the aliens residing with you and from their families who are with you and have been born into your land.
Sure.
They may be your property. You may keep them as a possession for your children after you, for them to inherit as property.
But
These
yeah,
you
but
may
what I'm
treat
saying
as
is
slaves.
you're not their owner. That's what I'm
You
saying.
own them
You're
as
their
property. You pass
you're
them
their
to your children as property.
you're their master. You're not their owner. There's a distinction there. The Bible makes a distinction between those two.
You're their master because you own them.
No, what I'm saying is the Bible makes a distinction. So let me give you a couple examples. So in Exodus 21, where it talks about an ox that gores people. It says the owner, it refers to the ox as having an owner. The the English word is owner there. But when it talks to about the slave and the slave doesn't have an owner, he has a master. Different Hebrew word there in Exodus 21. And then when you see where in other passages where it
If I
says
say
that,
something is your property, what does that mean?
you're just saying that you have possession of it. Depends on what you're
It
saying.
means you
If
have
you,
legal possession of it because you own it. It is in your legal possession.
well,
That's what
again,
ownership is.
all of that, like today, like if we were looking at that, let's say if a young married couple tragically unalives and they have some young children, and their property gets passed to a brother or sister or something like that, and then the children go with the estate as well, like in that sense. Are you saying that they own the children, or they just have possession of the children? You'd say they have
There's a
possession of it. You
difference
wouldn't call
between
them owner.
possession and ownership.
Exactly. And in the Bible, it draws a distinction between
Yeah, that
possession
means
and
they're
ownership.
not property. You own property.
Well, what I'm saying here is you could say these children are their property because they're
They are their
inheriting.
property. That's what the Bible says,
Well,
and
I'm
that is
saying
the
even in
definition of chattel slavery. Chattel slavery is owning property. It's owning people as property.
even in
That's literally what this is.
even in modern law, because they are getting passed on the house, the car, all this. These people tragically unalive. The house is going to someone else, and so is the children going to that same person, or even another person. There's still a
Yeah,
transfer
but they're
of
not property.
possession. Yeah, I know. And what you're I'm saying that in one sense they are, but they're not owners. Just like the Bible. The Bible does not view people as being owned, even though it may view them as a possession or property or something like that. That's what I'm saying. And the distinction I was going to give is
Property.
Deuteronomy 23:15 says, "You shall not give up a slave to his master who escaped his master. He shall get to stay where he wants and reside wherever he wants there,
That's
and you
if
shall
that's
not."
from a foreign place.
Okay, well, okay, whether that's the case or not, the point is here you have a slave who escapes into your area. You cannot give him back. You have to let him stay where he wants. Basically, you have to provide a sanctuary place for him. But
If he's
it
coming
says
from a
if
foreigner, yeah, a foreign
but
land.
if it says a enemy, you see your enemy's ox or donkey, you're supposed to give that back to even your enemy. So what I'm saying is clearly the Bible is drawing a distinction between slaves. It's not viewing people in the Bible like it's viewing the relationship of master and a person who's a slave versus the relationship of a owner and a donkey or a mule or something like that. So that's why I'm saying it doesn't endorse chattel slavery. Because under
What's
chattel
the
slavery,
definition of chattel
they're
slavery?
the same. Well, I mean, I
What's
don't
the
know the
definition of
specific
chattel
definition.
slavery?
It would
It's
just be
owning
viewed
people as
as
property. That's what chattel is. Chattel is movable property.
okay. Then the Bible doesn't view you as owning them. Then, so therefore, it doesn't endorse chattel slavery. That's
They
what I'm
are
saying.
your property. What do you think that
But you
means?
don't own them. That's what I'm
You
saying.
own your property, don't you?
Well, I mean, it depends. Like I'm saying, if you want to say you own the property, then you just have to say you own your
They're
children, you
slaves
own
for
your
life.
wife.
They cannot leave. They are your property. They have no autonomy of their
Well,
own.
a prisoner cannot leave either. Is he property of? Is he owned by the state, or is he just a possession of the state or
You can
property of the
probably
state?
argue that they're owned by the state at that point, but they still
Okay.
have certain things that can be done. But either way, they're being owned. That's the whole
Okay.
point here.
Well, I mean, then if that's the case, then are you okay with the 13th Amendment exception clause endorsing ownership of other human beings?
No.
You don't like the third. You don't think people should have their freedoms taken away from them if they break a law that
That's
is.
incarceration. I don't think people should be made slaves.
Oh, that's what I'm saying here.
And it also differentiates that's you're right. That is what the 13th article says. But if you read past that, it makes the definition distinct between chattel slavery and what they're speaking of, someone held captive.
Well, it doesn't make that distinct in the 13th Amendment.
I know. That's why I said you have to read a little past that. There's more writing than just the actual words in the Constitution. It's how those get explained. It's
Okay, well,
what
that's
like
what
the
I'm saying. There's
Federalist
more
Papers and stuff
writings
are
in the
for.
Bible. Like when you look at Leviticus 25, you may uh, purchase foreign, slaves from, and they can be you can pass them out as a possession stuff. When you look at other passages, you can see that even in that, the Bible isn't viewing them as owning them. It's viewing them as maybe being masters over them, and
It's
you being this, but
inherited
not owning
property. When you inherit your father's property, that means you take possession of it. You take
them. Okay,
ownership.
but then that's the same as when a child person takes possession of a child. If the state takes possession of a child because the children have been abused or whatever,
We're talking
but we
about
don't look
Israel.
at
We're
that
not
as
talking about the state, though. This says
yeah,
you
but
can pass them on to your children
what I'm
as
saying here,
inherited property.
shouldn't
Hold
it
on.
be,
Hey,
wouldn't
no,
it
no
be,
degree, no degree, no
wouldn't it be
degree.
fair to just
Is it
be,
a sin to lie?
not necessarily, it could be.
Okay. Well, I mean, you lied about
I haven't
the
lied
whole
about anything.
Exodus 21. Like, are
Yes,
you
I didn't lie
actually
about anything.
you're not reading the Hebrew on this, are you?
Yes, I am reading Hebrew. Yeah.
Oh, are you? Because then you would know that both owner and master are conflated in the Hebrew as just Baal.
No, they're actually not. If you read that passage there, Baal is for the ox.
No,
Baal
right.
is not used for the
Baal.
master.
Baal
Adonai,
is Baal. Baal
Adonai
is
is for master,
Lord,
though.
master, owner, husband. Like that.
Okay.
That it's used for all of those. So no, you're
Okay,
totally
so
wrong about
then
the
why
Exodus
is there?
21 part.
Okay, then read it in the Hebrew there for everybody then, because I've looked at it and
Which
it
one?
uses two
Exodus
different
or
words. It
Leviticus?
uses about the ox and the owner in Exodus 21.
Right.
The Hebrew
And
word
if an
for
ox
owner.
gores, and if an ox gores a man or a woman to death, surely then the ox shall be stoned, and its flesh shall not be eaten. Right. But the owner of the ox shall
Okay,
be
now look at
acquitted.
the Hebrew
Right.
word for owner there. Yeah, look at the
Right.
Hebrew word for
Baal.
owner. Yeah.
Right. Baal.
Now go on to where it talks about the master, the ox goring the servant or the slave, and what it says.
Let's see. But if do you remember which one that is? Let's see. Kev Kine says kill an ox.
This should be
Its
right after.
owner. Let's see. The ox. Let's see. If but if the ox tended to thrust with its horn, it in times past and has been made known to his owner, and not he has kept confined so that it has killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and so also its owner. So that's 29.
Says slave owner.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm talking about the master. When it says you give 30 pieces of silver to the master after he gores the slave. That part.
Yeah, to the slave owner. You get that's what it literally says right here.
Well, I
You have to pay the slave
I
owner.
want you to read the Hebrew word there. It's not Baal, it's Adonai. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly.
Sounds like he's trying to say Adonai.
Adonai, maybe that's it. Yeah.
Adon.
That's definitely not Adonai.
Hey, yeah, it's Adon. Do you know what that means?
Well, it doesn't mean the same as Baal apparently because they're using.
Oh, does it not? Because I'm looking at it right here and it says Lord, Master, Owner. And if we look over here at Baal, Lord, Master, Owner are the first three descriptors for it, Matt. What the fuck are you talking about?
Okay, so then why is there two different Hebrew words there in that very passage? Why would it not use Baal if it's viewing him as owning him like a ox?
Because Adon is more specific about being sovereign or being the controller of that person. It's even more specific
rather
than
the
ox one.
Okay, so rather than viewing the person as, say, a tool for the shed,
right,
or an ox for the field, maybe
it's saying that the one person has
master,
complete sovereign control over the other.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. The Adon
that would be the same for the ox too, wouldn't it?
Matt, the Adon is more explicit about the controlling and ownership of another person. That's why there's different words.
The relationship between It's drawing a distinction. It's not like Aristotle's saying where the slave is just the rich man's ox, right?
No, it's more explicit about the
Yeah,
owner of the slave having complete control over the relationship difference is because it's another person, and that other person
sure.
is under
An
sovereign
image bearer of
control
God,
of
right?
another person.
It's
Image bearer of God
reimbursing them
versus
for
an
lost
ox, right?
property.
Sure. Yeah. But
Yeah,
what I'm
it's the
saying here
owner's
is,
property.
so we have that passage. It has two specific Hebrew words, one
Right.
for the ox and the owner, and one for the slave and the master. And then you go to Deuteronomy
The
23:15,
owner.
where it says, "You shall not return a slave back to his master," but it
No, that's a
commands
non-extradition
you
treaty. That particular
in
section, Matt, you're
Deuteronomy
lying about this. You're lying
22.
about this, Matt. You're lying about this. That particular section
I'm
is a
lying.
non-extradition treaty from other nations. When other nations' slaves run away from those nations, you are not to return them to their nation. That's what that
Okay.
means.
That's what I said earlier.
Okay, so where do you get that in that passage?
It's the text of that passage.
No, it's not the text passage because I've read it 100 times. You're
Okay,
getting that from
what's the
outside
passage again,
sources,
Matt?
right?
Tell me where to go.
Deuteronomy 23:15.
Deuteronomy 23:15.
Yes. But even if that's even what you're saying doesn't change my argument, because here you have in Deuteronomy 22, I believe, beginning of 22,
Let's
specific
not jump around,
commands.
Matt. You keep jumping around for
No, I'm not
whatever
jumping
reason,
around. I'm
and I'm
still
saying
right
let's
on the
not jump
topic here.
around. Let's stick to this,
You're
okay?
you're supposed to return an ox. You're supposed to return a donkey, even to your very enemy. But it doesn't. It tells you not to return a slave. So clearly, the Bible is drawing distinctions here. It doesn't view the person as owning another human being like it is an ox or a donkey. Therefore, it doesn't endorse chattel slaves.
Right. So it says right
Saying
here.
you shall not return to their owners slaves, right?
You shall not return a slave to his master who has escaped to, you shall not wrong him. You shall let him stay where he
Yeah.
It
wants.
says they shall reside with you in
That's-
your
Yeah.
midst in any place they choose in any one of your towns. So they're from outside of your towns. They're from outside of the
Mhm.
territory.
Well, yeah. So Matt was
Now,
asking.
you're not supposed to
specifically,
do
where
that
do we
with a
get-
donkey or an ox, right?
Matt, do you want me to answer your question, or do you want to hear yourself talk?
Sure, go for it.
All right, that section right there, starting in verse 9, it says, "When you are encamped against your enemies, you shall guard against every evil thing." Right? So this is setting the context
Okay,
for this
keep on
entire
reading.
passage about.
Because it even talks about where you're supposed to take a dump. what
Okay,
you're
I don't
supposed
care
to do.
about that, Matt. The
And
point
then-
is that
and
this
then it
entire
just
that
comes-
means you're outside.
and
Look,
then it draws.
they're in a foreign
it makes it.
territory.
They're in a foreign territory. Okay, then why does it say they shall stay in your towns and you shall not wrong?
Because that's bringing.
It wouldn't
that's
be
when
a
they
foreign
come to your
territory.
land. But it's saying they are encamped
Yeah.
against enemies.
Okay.
No, actually, so yeah, but the 23:15 right here that he's talking about, like it doesn't, like it's actually talking about when you're encamped against your enemies and their slaves escape them and run to your camp.
Okay, so
Exactly.
read the passage prior to 23:15.
How prior do you want, Matt? We can put this in any kind of
The
level
last,
of context. you want.
let's say the past three
14?
verses prior to 23:15.
Okay, 3 verses prior. Gotcha. You shall
And
have
then
a
read it.
designated area outside the camp to which you shall go. With your tools, you shall have a trowel. When you relieve yourself outside, you shall dig a small hole, then cover it up with your excrement. I don't know why you want to talk about shooting in a hole so bad, Matt.
Okay, just keep on
because-
going. Yeah.
Because the Lord your God travels along with your camp to save you and to hand over your enemies to you. Therefore, your camp must be holy, so that he may not see anything indecent among you and turn away from you. How does this help your case?
Well, then now read that passage out loud. 23:15.
You shall not return their owners' slaves who have escaped to you from their owners, meaning the owners of the enemies that you're encamped against.
Well, keep reading.
They shall reside with you in your midst in any place they choose, in any one of your towns, wherever they please. You shall not oppress them. Right.
Okay, so any
When they
one of their
escape to
your
you,
towns,
Matt,
right?
do you want me to explain it to you, or you just want to hear yourself?
Well, I'm just curious here. If it's just talking about camps, then why does it say towns there?
because if
It
they
says they may choose any one of your towns.
right, if they escape to you,
Not camps.
It
but
doesn't
towns.
say they're in your town.
it doesn't
But
say
you
that
can
they're
choose
in
any
your
town,
towns,
right?
Matt. You're huffing the copium hard here,
I
man.
mean, I'm saying you're saying this is only about camping in war, and yet it's referring to towns here,
No, yeah. What once they escape
right?
to you,
Yeah.
into your
Okay.
camp, you can take them back to Israel, and they are to reside in your towns, not as slaves, but as Israelite people.
But what is
It's
your
saying they
what
can pick
what
where they want to
happens?
go, is what that is saying.
What happens if you find your enemy's ox or donkey somewhere? What are you supposed to do?
I don't know how
According to
this
Old Testament.
helps. How does this apply?
Well, you're supposed to return the donkey and the ox back to your enemy,
I don't care.
according to Exodus
I
or
don't care.
Leviticus, and then
I
Deuteronomy
don't
is
care.
more instruct. Okay, so what I'm saying here is clearly the Bible is not viewing humans the same way it is viewing ox and donkeys, right? It's not looking at another human being saying, "Oh, this is nothing more than another ox, a
I
rich
said the
man's ox," like
same
Aristotle
thing to
thought, right?
you when you were on my panel a week
I don't think
ago.
so.
This is the
Hey,
same argument,
Yeah,
right.
regardless.
we're just gonna
Apostle
have to
are
agree to
saying the
disagree.
same
I think.
thing. I was right the first time. They're
No
saying
degree.
the same thing.
No,
No degree. I'm going to
Why
read
is
to
what
you.
I'm
it so
saying here
unclear
is
to
that
you?
No degree. You
It's
want
from
context. I'm
around
giving
what
you. I'm
They
giving you.
come
because
to
I've got
the slaves, the escaped
because I've
slaves
got
come
outside
to
sources
you,
as well. I
and
use
then you
outside
return
sources.
them, and then what does the Bible say? The Bible says it is from the nations around you that you may acquire slaves. You return the
Yes, but
escaped
what I'm
slave
saying
to the nations
is
around you,
they're,
and then you buy
they're
them.
not
What
viewed
is so
as
unclear? Damn
Here,
it!
Matt. Listen to this. I'm gonna give you some better context here, right? This is the better context for you. Deuteronomy 23:9. Oh, is he roboting for anybody else, or is it?
Hmm?
Okay,
I
so
don't know what happened to Shadow Slayer.
I don't know what happened to Shadow either, but Deuteronomy 23:9, the beginning part before 15, it says, "When you are encamped against your enemies, you shall guard against every evil thing." This here is literally all about whenever you are at war against your enemies. This is what this
Well,
whole
I
entire
know
thing is
that part is
prefacing.
sure.
So no,
Oh,
not just that one,
so
not
when
just
does
that one
okay?
sentence. It's
Are
everything
you
from that
sure is
sentence
that
down.
sure the argument you want to make?
This
Are
is
you
the argument. This is
positive?
the context from
Okay, so let me ask you something. Do you
listen. No,
apply
you
that
gotta
same
listen.
context
Listen,
to Exodus 21?
Matt,
Yes or no?
Matt. Deuteronomy
I go
23,
by no degree,
15.
please.
Well, no degree. 23:15. It's the full
Yeah.
context of it starts at verse 9, where it's telling you this is about the enemies. This is about
Okay,
when you are at war.
so let me ask you this question. Is Deuteronomy 21, where it talks about a master beating a slave, only about beating Hebrew slaves?
Do what?
The passage in Exodus 21, where it talks about beating slaves,
Oh, Exodus 21.
is
Yeah,
that
I was
only
like,
about Hebrew slaves or not?
No, that's about all slaves.
Okay, but if we take his line of reasoning here, when you look at the beginning of Deuteronomy 21, it starts talking about Hebrews. When
it
you
says
buy
right
a
here, these
Hebrew
are the
slave,
ordinances that you
right?
shall set before them.
Yeah.
This is
Now,
the
Yeah.
law concerning slaves, not just Hebrew slaves. This is the law concerning
well, keep reading.
slaves.
Keep
These
reading.
are the ordinances that you shall set before them. The them is slaves.
Keep reading.
Yes, it does start at number 2. It says when you buy a male Hebrew slave.
Thank
But
you.
this is
Thank you. So now, do you want to
Wait,
make
wait,
that
no,
reasoning with
What?
Deuteronomy
no.
23?
Okay, hold on,
Is that the
No.
same
hold
line
on.
of reasoning you want to go?
Hold on,
That's the
sorry,
path you
hold
want to
on.
go. Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Wait,
babe.
hold on. No, nobody's denying this passage here
Okay.
isn't addressing male Hebrew slaves. It differentiates between male Hebrew slaves and everyone else, literally. In Leviticus 25, that's exactly what it does. It says you may keep them as a possession for your
Well, we're
children
talking
after
about
you, for them to
Deuteronomy.
inherit this. Hold on. These
Mm-hmm.
you may treat as slaves, but as for your fellow Israelites, no one shall rule over the other with harshness. It's
Okay.
definitely making a differentiations between slaves and Israelite slaves. It's saying you have to treat Israelites a certain way.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out here and I'll give you another example. In at Leviticus 25 verse 10, says, "You shall declare a year of Jubilee throughout all the land to all the inhabitants, a year of liberty, where each one returns to their clan." Now you're going to say
Yeah,
that's
that's
only
every
about
50 years.
Hebrews, right? That's only about Hebrews.
Yeah, every 50 years.
But
Yeah.
But if you look at that passage, it doesn't clarify Hebrews versus non-Hebrews. So my point here is when you're saying, oh, Deuteronomy 23:15 is only applying to when they're at war and this happens, a slave escapes master, and yet it also says they
What
shall
was,
stay in the towns where they choose.
what
And you
was the verse
understand here,
for the year
you're
of Jubilee?
25:10.
No,
You
what's
shall declare a
the
year of Jubilee throughout all the land to
Leviticus
all its
25:2?
inhabitants, or a year of, yes, Leviticus 25:10. A year of liberty throughout all the land to all the inhabitants. And I'm saying, in order to look, if you want to say that, then I think that's going to create problems for other passages, other arguments for you. So why not just say here, Deuteronomy 23:15, back and
You're
just leave
breaking
it
up
there,
pretty bad there, man.
instead of saying, well, this is
I didn't catch almost
only.
any of that.
Oh,
Well, it
maybe
makes
I'm getting into some
distinctions. It
bad
tells
signal.
you.
I don't know.
Yeah, it says you go to bed. So, but it's making distinctions. It tells you who it's talking about in these cases. It either says who it's talking about or specifically or relates it indirectly through context.
Well, let me ask you something. If you just read, if words mean words, and you read some of these passages, and you read something like Exodus 21:16, if anyone kidnaps someone and keeps them, and anyone found in possession of him must be unalived, wouldn't that be pretty much an outright abolishment of certain forms of slavery?
Yeah, kidnapping someone and making them a slave.
Yeah, which would be, so if it just outright abolishes that form of slavery, then couldn't we reasonably conclude
It's not
that these
abolishing
other
a
forms
form of slavery. It's saying you can't obtain a slave this way. It's the
Well, it
same
would
thing
be-
as saying it's legal to own a car if you purchase it, but you can't steal somebody else's car and then keep
Exactly.
it yourself.
So then
That's
if
what
you
this is
can't-
about. It's saying
if
you
you
can't
can't-
kidnap a person, but you can sell or purchase slaves.
Yeah, so
legally.
it could be possible here that the Bible is allowing for slavery under the context of people who actively participate in being slaves themselves, right? Consent to it.
What?
Yeah.
What part of
Okay.
what part
Then
of
it
captives
would
of
be,
war
to me, I
being-
wouldn't have a problem with it. It'd be their body, their choice.
What part of captives of war are doing this willfully?
Well, in the captives
Yeah,
of
and the
war, I
children.
could give you some examples. There are examples in the Bible. I mean, you look
Yeah,
at
this
the
also talks about children. When your slave has a child, they're your property too, and they're just a slave for life. And they didn't have nothing to do with nothing.
well, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of passages in the Bible where people who were even enemies actively participated in their own capture and willingly took part in this. So
you're saying you're okay with, like, if a Hebrew chooses to sell themselves to you as a slave, right?
yeah, I mean, if somebody becomes poor and sells himself a foreigner or whatever, or
Oh, well,
if
God
you would
don't like
if,
that. So you're going against God right now.
if you would acquire a foreign slave who actually participated, then I don't really see any issue with it. It's their body, their choice.
Well, let's read about the male Hebrew slaves here. This is what Leviticus 25:39 says. It says, "If any who are dependent on you become so impoverished that they sell themselves to you, you shall not make them serve as slaves. You shall remain with you. They shall remain with you as hired or bound laborers." So God is forbidding you to own someone that tries to sell to you in Leviticus 25.
Well, he's not
Ape over
really
here reading from NRSVUE.
forbidding it specifically, but
It,
I
it
think
says,
God
if
is.
any who are dependent on you, don't words mean words? If any who are dependent on you become so impoverished that they sell themselves to you, you shall not make them serve as slaves. They
Yeah,
shall
but they
remain with
could.
you as hired or bound laborers.
They're still selling themselves for you for money, right?
Yeah, but you can't make them serve
So
as a
you can.
slave, according to
So
Leviticus
you can.
25.
So what you're saying is you can physically sell yourself for money, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're a slave.
This is
This
the
is
one
God
where
saying if
Would that
someone does
be? Would
that,
you
you
agree with that?
cannot make them serve as a slave.
this version
Yeah.
here where it says that they're not supposed to serve as a slave is where a lot of people say this is indentured servitude.
Okay. And did y'all have a problem with indentured servitude?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this
But
says, and so does God. It says, if any who are dependent on you become so impoverished that they sell themselves to you, you shall not make them serve as slaves.
yeah,
Exodus
well,
21 is saying the opposite of that. It's saying when you buy a male Hebrew slave, he shall serve. It's saying
there
you
is
can
this
buy them.
there is this view that as they progress, God is moving them away from that, and they believe that
No,
Leviticus
God's laws are
20,
perfect and they're
Leviticus,
forever.
Leviticus. Well, just because
Why
laws
didn't he
don't
just straight outlaw it? If
laws
he's
don't
moving
necessarily
away
apply
from it,
moral standards.
but if
That's the
he's
common
Yeah,
moving,
why
mistake
if
not
he
here.
wants to
say
move
just
him,
don't make anybody serve as a slave ever?
No,
yeah.
I mean, because I think there's a moral justification for making people serve as slaves.
What?
To God, there is. That's what I'm saying. God's
I'm
totally fine with
saying,
this shit.
okay, let me ask you this. Let's imagine you have a left-wing liberal pajama-wearing Democrat voting
I have
lazy.
no concept of what that is.
Okay, so you have a
I'm
lazy
just kidding. I just said that.
Democrat voting pajama-wearing basement-dwelling guy who's mad because the Democrats didn't get him a bunch of free handouts because he doesn't want to go to work. And let's say that
Oh boy.
he just has sat and gamed all of his life in the basement of his parents, hasn't made anything for himself. And then he figures out how to fraud old folks out of their life savings to get money so he doesn't have to work. And he's successful at frauding a couple. And this man was a farmer his whole life, and his wife worked in a factory. So they did physical labor their whole life, and they gained this small life savings that's going to see them through to the end. And he takes all this money from them, and then he's found guilty, and he goes to jail. Since it's the case they acquired this by their own physical labor, why can't it be the case that he should be made to physically work to pay it back, even as a slave to the state? I think that's morally justified. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, do you know what restitution is?
Sure.
They
But
pay
he
it
should
back.
provide. Should he be allowed to provide restitution by working like they did? I mean, they had to work to earn it. Why can't we make him as society work to pay it back?
So, what? If he is going to be paying it back, he's giving restitution.
Yeah, but he can't.
The
pay
thing
it back
is
with,
in the prison, usually they have a job in the prison anyways.
yes. So why not force him to go out without pay, dig holes,
They
clean up
already
trash,
do
whatever?
that in
Okay,
prison.
and they don't get paid for it, but they get taken care of by it because they're in the prison under the system. But they don't get extra pay.
No
Okay.
degree. They already do that in prison.
And do you think that's okay? That's what I'm asking.
Do I think it's okay?
Yes.
I don't
Do
think
you think it's
anybody
morally-
should be forced to have to go into
Okay.
prison and work like that.
But in this
Because
case, in this scenario,
people
would
still
it be
deserve.
okay?
It doesn't matter what the people have done; they still deserve basic human rights.
Well, he's got basic.
That's not
rights.
that's
They
not
feed
even
him. They
what we're
give him.
talking about here.
They give him health care and all that. He just has to get up. He gets in a truck, a bus. They bus him out to somewhere. He works 8 hours and he comes home. And that money that he would have made if he's doing himself is going back into the pot of these old folks who he robbed. And until he pays all of this back, he has to do this. I don't have a problem with that. I think that would be a justified form of slavery.
That's a very specific scenario too, and that's not what we're talking about.
Well, I'm
You're
just
also
giving.
saying
Yeah.
that if that guy had a
Would y'all be
baby,
okay?
the state would also own the baby and could make the baby work too.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just simply
And
saying here.
and by the
In
way,
this
they're not
case,
getting out of prison. They're prisoners for life in your scenario to
Oh,
make it
oh,
more
well,
so
no,
analogous.
they could eventually pay it back and get out. Sure,
so
pay
you
their
agree
debt
with
back
that
is
whenever
right.
it comes
No,
to the
no, no,
Bible
not in
saying
biblical
it?
slavery. They're slavery for life.
No, I'm agreeing with this too. What I'm saying is I don't have a problem with
No,
this.
no, no,
I don't
no,
have
you're
a problem
not.
with this
Because
being
the
in.
thing is Abe just told you that if he had a kid, then the kid is also forced to work and labor. And you're like, no, I don't believe in that. That's what
No,
you
well,
just said.
no, the Bible doesn't do that.
The Bible
It
does do that.
does.
No, it doesn't.
It
Yes,
does.
it does.
No, it
Whenever your
It
fellow
says
Hebrew comes in, when he comes in alone, he leaves alone. If he comes in with a wife and kids, he leaves with them. If he
Yeah.
comes in and the master gives him a wife and they have kids, he is to go free alone while his wife and children stay with the master because those are his property.
And do you
And they
know
are there for
why
life.
that's going on?
It doesn't matter why it's
Oh, it
going
does
on.
matter.
They are there
it's
for
going
life.
on. That's the point.
But that doesn't mean.
But no degree.
No,
Listen.
your
It honestly does
listen.
not
Your
matter.
claim.
Look,
Your claim
no,
was
no,
that
no.
person
Listen,
had to work to
listen,
pay back the debt. That's not what it's saying
listen,
there.
Linda.
You're
Listen,
being
Linda.
It is.
intentionally dishonest.
No
with
degree. Do I
Scripture.
need to call you by your real name? Because then you're gonna get
If
mad.
you're gonna dox
So I'm
me,
trying to sit there and talk to you. And the thing is the point is, it doesn't matter why they're doing it. The fact is that wife and children
you've
are
already
the
forgot what you
master's
claimed.
property for life. And
You've already forgot what you claimed.
in the case of
No, we didn't
no, I
forget.
haven't. In the
Yes,
case
you
of
have.
Okay,
apes,
still on topic.
No, you're not.
You
in the
denied
case
that it says the children are the slaves, masters, and not the
No,
slaves.
he
And
made the
he's
claim.
now explaining to you where that is
Do
exactly the
do you
case.
want me to steel man exactly what he made the claim that under the scenario the child is forced to work the rest of his life because of what this person did. That passage is not saying that. It's just simply saying that he
did
remains
that
with
man
the
go
master.
in? Did that man go into indentured servitude under his master?
Yes,
Did he do
willingly.
that? That was his actions,
Willingly,
right?
yes. Yep.
Yeah. So then, the child is the slave owner's property, who does also work. Children slaves work.
But when the slave
Do they
fulfills
not?
his obligation,
Do they
he's
not?
fulfilled it. He's at no.
We're no.
You
Hold on.
can't.
We are
You can't
taking
even
this.
make
We're
that.
taking this step
You
by
can't.
step.
You can't even.
No degree.
No.
No
Okay.
degree.
Well, let
We're
me
taking
explain
this
it. Then
step
let me
by
explain
step.
it. You. Well, okay. Yeah, I agree. So I'm going to
I
explain
just want
the
you to
passage
answer the
there.
question.
The
I want you
answer
to
is
answer the
no, not
question.
necessarily. Based on
No,
the
not
reading of the passage,
necessarily.
the answer is no, not necessarily. Yeah, and I'll explain it. When you read that
What?
passage there, when you read that, what your claim was that this person, the scenario I gave was that the child also had to work to pay out the debt. But under this scenario, he goes out free. Remember, in the 6th year, he's free of his obligation. He's set free. The child does not go out free, but the debt has been paid at this point.
Unless
Hold on, let me finish. There is no debt for him to continue to work to repay. Does that make sense?
it
So
doesn't matter.
Oh, it
it's
doesn't
still a
matter. Okay,
child
well, I'm not
slave.
sure. I'm not sure what you're asking then. What you've changed seems
Well,
to be
I'll just read
changing.
it to you, and it'll explain what I'm saying. It
In
Okay,
says
well,
if
but what
you're
is?
if the master
I'm trying to figure
hold
out
on, let
what
me
the
just read it.
argument is at this point. What is your
That it
specific argument?
allows that the children belong to the master and not the slave. That's what I was
Okay, well, if
talking
that's
about.
all you were saying, I would agree with that to beginning. But he said something different earlier. I don't disagree with
No, he
that.
didn't.
Yes, he did. He basically
No, he
said that
didn't.
I disagree with the Bible
You was
because
talking about the
he claimed,
prisoner.
he claimed that the kid would have to work to pay back the debt as well. No, that passage does not teach
Yeah,
that
they
because
would.
when
You
he
can. That's
goes
what I'm.
out,
That's what we was
the
talking
debt
about.
has
The child
already
is a
been
slave. You
paid.
make them work. No,
All
it
right,
don't work like that. It is
okay,
no longer about the debt.
well, I believe there's something different going on here, and I could explain it if you're interested, but
Do
I don't know if you're interested.
I just want to know, do children slaves get put to work? Yes or no?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Children
man
get put
goes
to
in.
work too.
So the
I put
Hebrew,
my children to work.
the Hebrew slave, he goes in and he becomes a
hmm
slave.
Yep.
He's
And
given
why
a
does he
wife.
become a slave?
He's given a
First of all,
wife, and he's
well, why does he
given.
become a? First of all, why does he
It
become a
already.
slave?
We already know why a Hebrew
Because he
would.
was
Why?
purchased.
Okay, why
Because
was
he
he
was
purchased?
purchased.
Why?
Because
Because
the
someone
man
wanted to buy him.
because
Because
the
he got
man
into debt, right?
the
He got into
master
financial problems,
again.
right?
No, it doesn't say that.
Oh, it does. It's yeah, that's what it's saying. Y'all even quoted
Not
one
in
while ago. If
Exodus
the Hebrew
21, it's not.
became
It just says
poor
when
and
you
sells
buy a
himself.
male Hebrew slave. No,
Okay,
it
then
doesn't say anything
what?
about selling yourself
Based
in
on
Exodus
what would
21.
you assume that Hebrew slave is getting into that position? Why would you assume he's just selling himself
Because
like
he
this?
was purchased. It says when
Okay,
you
but
buy
I'm
a male
asking,
Hebrew slave.
do you think that the Hebrew slave was forced into this situation against his will?
So, sometimes he can be bought and sold without his consent. Now they
Okay,
do sell themselves into slavery. Yes,
okay.
I
So
agree.
wouldn't it be
I'm just
reasonable to
saying
believe
in
that he
Exodus
sold himself
21
into slavery?
because he was in debt or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's in
Yeah.
debt,
So
made some
no degree. Even if I
bad
grant
financial
you,
decisions, right?
no degree, I'm going to grant you. I'm going to grant you that Exodus 21, when it says the Hebrew slave and all that, I'm going to grant you that it's indentured servitude. I'm going to grant you that he is
Yeah,
paying
that's
off his
easy.
debt. Okay, so
Okay,
he goes in under the
great.
slavery. He becomes a slave. He's given a
hmm
wife. His wife is put to work because he now has a wife who is a slave. And she goes and she works as well because she's a slave. They have a child. When their child is old enough to start working, he gets put to work. If he then, in the year of Jubilee,
Presumably, yes.
gets set free, then the wife and child do not get set free, and they still continue to work because those are their master's property, and the master puts them
Oh,
to
I don't know
work
where you're getting that from. I'm not sure where you're
It
getting that
says it.
from.
because that's what
It says it.
slavery is.
Okay, but what I'm saying, in the year of Jubilee,
So
it
do you
says
think?
that each one shall return to his clan, each one.
But
I don't know
whenever
Yeah,
why
but
you
not the
they
every
wife
would.
and
man,
child.
because in
Okay,
this
so you're saying
particular verse, because in that verse it
that's
says
only
that
to
the
the man,
man,
not to the woman.
listen, yes, because in that particular verse, the Exodus 21, it says right there in black and white that the wife and child do not get to go free, that they
hmm
belong to the master.
And I
And the
can
thing is
explain
whenever you
why.
read it, it even sits there and says that women who are sold or who go into debt slavery even are not to be let out as the men are.
Oh, okay. So
So
what do you
this,
think's going on in Deuteronomy where it
it,
specifically says women aren't supposed to be set free? Is that contradiction or an update?
do what?
In Deuteronomy, where it starts saying that the women are supposed to be set free, just like the men, what do you think's going on there?
In Deuteronomy, what chapter, what verse in Deuteronomy?
I can't remember exactly. Me
So,
and Dr. Josh Bowman had this conversation.
yeah, and the thing is I guarantee you Dr. Josh disagrees with you a lot more than he agrees. As a matter of fact, like, I know he does, because whenever I asked him, whenever I was on Shadows with No Degree, I sat there and sent it to Josh and said, hey, do you want to come and correct No Degree? He's saying that you agree with just about everything he says. And Josh's words verbatim were, oh geez, LOL.
Yeah, he's the best friend of this channel here. He was up here talking earlier.
Yeah, I've been friends with Josh for 10 years now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, him and John, G.
Well, that's cool. Well, shit, I appreciate you coming up and arguing with him there.
Oh yeah, it was like whenever he started saying some of the stuff, like it really, I was somewhat drifting in and out of sleep because I've had like 2 hours of sleep in the past. It was 9 p.m. not last night, but the night before. I was drifting somewhat in and out of sleep, and I heard him saying, well, Dr. Josh agrees with me about the bitter water thing and the trial on the unfaithful wife. And I sat there, and that struck a chord to me because I was like, I think I've had a conversation with him, and Dr. Josh is like, yeah, it like while that's like it's not trying to create an AB, but it's creating one. Like it's doing an AB regardless.
Right.
And so like he's flat out said that. So I'm like, that doesn't sit right. So I texted him real quick, but I think he's busy.
Oh yeah. He was he had to go. He was here a little bit earlier though.
Yeah, he came
Dude, I
on.
appreciate you coming out, man.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Maybe we got someone here. Oh, never mind. But yeah, the way he was trying to state that, maybe he could get Dr. Josh to agree with a little bit of that, the way he was phrasing it. But it's like you said, either way, this is absolutely dealing with an abortion here involved.
No. Yeah, that and then
even a suspicion abortion.
Right? And all of this is like, he's like, Dr. Josh agrees with me like 99% of the time. And I'm like, I can almost guarantee you he does not. Like I know Josh enough to know that no. No, just no. He doesn't agree with you 99% of the time. I think what it is it's the other way around, where Josh says X, and he goes, "Oh well, yeah, I agree to that."
Right.
And then, of course, whenever he tells other people, Dr. Josh agrees with him, not him agreeing with Josh.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But anyway, yeah, man, I'll drop you back here. But
Alrighty,
I appreciate
no
you coming up here, man. It was cool debating them with you for a second there. Oops, hit the wrong one. All right, well, let's try one more for I have to go back to the enormous amount of yard work that I have left to do. Oh, Ghost was the next one. Probably not still here. They requested up a while back. It's already been almost 3 hours on this one, though. What does that say? Kieran Eber. All right. Oops. All right, well, apparently nobody else in the queue at the moment, so I'll tell you what. I'll give it 2 more minutes, and then we'll see if we can get a conversation in here. If not, I'll go ahead and chop it, because I still got a ton of stuff I got to do outside. Even though I did a lot yesterday. I was working yesterday out in the yard till just a little bit after dark. It's looking good out there, though. It's going to be a good spring. All the leaves that are coming out of my trees this year are really, really beautifully colored. You don't get the same thing every year. It's weird. Like last year, they were nice, but it was kind of dullish colors, where this year they're just like the crimson on the Japanese maples I got. It's just unbelievably bright and vibrant. It's amazing. Spring is my favorite time of the year, except for the cleaning part, but it's great to see, though. But anyway, we'll give it a couple minutes. If you're a Christian or a Hebrew Israelite, you still got a minute or two to come on, request on up. No wait at the moment. No wait at the moment. Had some good conversations today. It's pretty awesome. Had the Godless come up. Hammy, our best friend, Dr. Josh. All came up. That's pretty awesome. Always a W on that end. But we'll give it just a minute, see if we get one more in here. Make it a little quicker there. Christians or Hebrew Israelites? You got 1 minute. Has been a good one. Thank you, dear. Oh. It's crazy how they say, words mean words mean words. As the Christian, you don't want to be the one using that, trust me. They do, though. Yikes. Yikes. Let's see here. Oh, no, never mind. Anyway, it's almost over. Just in case we don't get somebody, I'll go ahead and do my close out here. Y'all, don't forget, we had Godless Engineer. He is putting on the best damned atheist shows that the world has ever seen. That's going down in Huntsville, Alabama, this October, the 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And it is the Rocket City Reason Conference. You can get your tickets for that at rocketcityreason.com. Don't forget about that. Don't forget about that. All right. Our threshold has been met here. So we'll call it out for today. I'm not sure who's live. Maybe wait, Christ Before Jesus is probably live. Let's go we'll go give Christ Before Jesus a raid. And I'm gonna go change into work clothes and start doing crap in the yard again. Oh, I gotta do pawn stuff today too. But anyway, much love to everybody. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for all the engagements and stuff. Much love, much love. We will catch y'all